Hello trainers and welcome back to the Pokemon UNITE Asia Champions League. We're back with Southeast Asia yet again, and Contra, this week is going to be rather exciting because we have some teams that are dying to get those points because we're getting closer and closer to the second phase of the competition. My name is Annalie, he is Contra. We are your dastardly duo for the ACL League. We've been having so much fun, but Contra, what are you looking forward to this week?
Yeah, I think that what we really want to look forward to is who exactly would secure themselves that number one spot. But of course, that's one step before getting into who really secures that spot. But at least we'll see the positioning and have a better picture on who will be the contestants that will eventually have at least one foot to the draw into securing themselves those tickets to getting into the grand finals.
Exactly. Now, I do want to remind all of you that we currently have our microsite here that is live. If you need any information on the tournament, whether it be matchups, dates, teams, and the players participating on those teams, it's all right here. Just make sure it's bookmarked. And if you have any questions at all, you know where to go. It is your Pokedex for the Pokemon UNITE Asia Champions League. I know I have it bookmarked because sometimes I'm wondering like, when is this team playing? I really want to see them play.
Exactly, and of course, with all of these information available on the site, you will definitely know what exactly to tune into for your favorite team. If you do happen to be busy, you can always pop it on your phone, pop it on your tablet, or anywhere at all. And you know what? Like, we've seen a lot of interesting picks. You can also look at some of the stats.
Yeah, exactly. We've had some crazy picks up until this point in the tournament. But we do want to remind everybody that if you're watching on Twitch, or if you aren't watching on Twitch, I do encourage you to move on over because we have a exclusive Twitch giveaway campaign happening right now until the end of the entire tournament. It's not just for today, it's up until the grand finals at the LAN final. All you have to do is make sure you have a Twitch account and register on Stream Elements. Once you've registered, then you're going to start redeeming points just by watching the stream. Yes, all you have to do is watch the stream on Twitch. Now, once you have enough points, you'll be able to claim one of our amazing rewards, which is on the screen, but also on our desk. We've actually got a lot of these goodies here. So Contra, what have we got here for our viewers?
Well, let's start off with the stacking tins that you are seeing here. It includes the booster packs for Pokemon TCG, and you definitely want to get your hands on it. You can keep your decks and, of course, your coins, the damage counters, everything on board. Like, I mean, it's beautiful. It also is very shiny. And speaking of shiny things, you know, like in my hand, I have another 2 packs of booster packs, and it also comes alongside with
Hang on, we're trying to
foil.
fit this behind.
Yeah.
All right,
let's put it all together. So you have 3 cards of the Galarian Articuno, Galarian Zapdos, as well as Galarian Moltres, and it does come with a Surfetch coin for you to, of course, flex on your opponents at the same time.
You can also use it for the coin flip mechanisms, right? Because of course you do need to go for those coin flips. And of course the folders. I think these ones I feel are going to be the most underrated rewards out of all because these aren't just not random plastic folders. These are, I don't know what to call them actually. They're like the duo.
It's like a hollow.
It's not hollow. It's like the duo flip ones where depending on the angle, you get the different image. So you're going to get a holoware picture, as you can see on the screen with the Wigglytuff, and then you get the basic character image. So we've got Lucario here as well with his holoware. I would have loved this if it was the Halloween holoware. I feel like that's probably my favorite Lucario holoware. But these folders are amazing regardless. We've got Lucario, we've got Snorlax, we've got Wigglytuff, we have Pikachu, and then we also have Cinderace as well, who I almost forgot. I think Zeraora. I almost forgot Zeraora. So we've got a variety of these folders for you guys to claim. So make sure, if you haven't already, make sure you make it to this giveaway and you start earning those points because this stuff is all free. There's absolutely no strings attached.
No money involved. And all you have to do, just watch the stream.
Just be there. And this is for every single stream as well. So East Asia, Southeast Asia, and India. Now, speaking of streams, you do want to give a shout out to some of our amazing co-streamers that are also broadcasting the Pokemon UNITE Asia Champions League. So on the stream here, we've got Master Ramen, Skywee, and Ellie Gaming. These guys are also streaming on their Facebook pages, the Pokemon UNITE ACL League. League. So if you do know any of these guys and you didn't know that they were co-streaming with us, head on over to their streams. You can watch it with them as well, because you're also going to get their amazing commentary on top of the games.
That's right. And, you know, it's a whole lot of fun. We know that Skyway is quite the amazing personality alongside Master Ramen and Elite Gaming as well. So you get to be accompanied by your favorite streamers while you all get to unite as one.
Absolutely. So if you want to stick around with us, that's totally fine as well. We love having all of our amazing trainers tuning into the broadcast. Now, for anyone that's here and you're kind of waiting on this next matchup, firstly, before we jump into that, let us know in the comments or in your chat, who's the team you're currently rooting for in Southeast Asia? I know I have a favorite, but I'm going to try and remain as non-biased as possible. If you need a quick refresher, though, here are our 5 competing teams for the Southeast Asian region.
That's right, and each one of them have been going through all these processes through qualification as well as through their track record. Some of them are from WCS themselves, and also most of the teams are also hailing from the open stages of each respective Southeast Asia region. But other than Southeast Asia, we also do have the Asian Champions League for East Asia as well as India. So in East Asia, we have Eternity, No Show, Secret Ship,
High
as
Five,
well
and
as
T2. I got it.
All right,
gotcha.
awesome. And on the side of the Indian region, we will have God's Reign, Marcos Gaming, Revenant Esports, Team Soul, and also True Rippers.
Yeah, and if you are looking to watch the Indian League, that's going to be happening tomorrow. So if you were here for the Indian League, unfortunately it's Southeast Asia, but technically that's also a fortunate thing, because I think SEA, we have a pretty interesting region so far. We've seen some crazy picks. The teams are very aggressive as well. And I don't feel like we only have one team dominating. I think there's a good mix within the region so far. We've had some pretty competitive games.
That's right. And we're definitely looking forward for a whole lot more to come. So let's also take a quick look at the tournament schedule. So of course, we did have the Chinese New Year celebration for Southeast Asia, so we will be playing the 4th weekend matchups here, and it will include Team Rise going up against Escape 5 to kick things off, and then there is Secret Rare versus Renaissance. And then we will head to our final week of the first stage, and I'm excited to see what's going down on the second stage.
Yes, exactly. Especially with how desperate some of these teams are to pick up these points, because again, for Southeast Asia, this is your last 2 play days, right? If you can't get the points now, then unfortunately you're going to get that lower seeding. Now, I do want to remind our viewers that we do have a bit of a disclaimer for the matches today. Now, I know some players are going to be wondering like, oh, is it going to be the new patch? So just an FYI, this broadcast was recorded before the new patch dropped. This is not a live broadcast. This is a pre-recorded broadcast, and therefore we will be playing on the old patch. So we're very sorry to anyone that was looking forward to the teams to play on that new patch. That series, or at least the new patch games, will only take place the week after.
That's right. So they will still get to stick to all the strategies that they've prepared for from, of course, the week before itself, and they will not be, thrown a little bit of a curveball, so they could still basically have that same idea of how they really want to play out some of all these battles. Now, quickly glancing through to the schedule itself, we did mention about the matches for today on day 3, SK5 versus MYS, and also we'll have Rise versus Renaissance on the second match. But what we do look forward to as well is that we will have on day 5, Rise versus Secret Rare and MYS versus Renaissance. My apologies. I missed out. We're on
so
day 4.
confused.
We're on day 4.
Gosh,
My
you've
bad.
lost
My
your
bad.
mind. Yeah. So just to reiterate it in case anyone is confused, we're currently on day 4, which is technically also week 4. So our matchups for today is Rise versus Escape 5 and Secret Rare versus Renaissance. Last week's games were Escape 5 and MIS and Rise and Renaissance. You can go back and watch those games if you like. They are available on all of our streaming platforms, on YouTube, on Twitch, on Facebook. Do go back. We had some really exciting things happening in that previous week, and I think if I want to kind of spoil it, it was the day of Greedent.
Yes, and I wonder if we're actually going to be seeing a whole lot more of Greedon because, like, this pick itself have benefited the winning teams, namely MYS as well as Renaissance.
Right.
So I feel like we will see this being quite the trend itself. But let's go through the tournament format once again. If you have just joined in, we are currently at stage 1, or should I say first stage, where we're playing the league stage where teams are getting themselves points to secure positioning to qualify into the second stage with higher seeding. So what do they do with the seeding is that they'll be placed into a gauntlet run, meaning to say if you're placed lower, you will have to start the run, and if you get knocked out, it's over.
Yeah, so essentially if you get the last seed, you've got the longest journey to qualifying for the LAN final. But there's also good news, right? The team that gets the first seed automatically qualifies for the offline final that's going to be taking place in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. So first seed going to be highly contested. Second seed, or at least that second spot, is going to be the most highly contested for the remaining 4 teams.
That's right. Just to give you guys a clear picture as well, like what we've just mentioned, if teams end up in the 4th and 5th position, they will be the first to play. And the winning team out of that battle will meet the 3rd seed, and it will fall on by the winners of day 6, where they will have to meet the 2nd seed. 1st seed automatically qualifies to the grand finals, and therefore they will still have to play to determine the seeding for the Asia Champions League Grand Finals happening in Kuala Lumpur.
Yeah, exactly. So seeding at this point, it's pretty important for some of these teams because it also impacts how you're going to go in the tournament. Higher seedings mean you generally have an easier path to the grand final for the offline event. But of course, we're going to take a look at what the players are competing for, and we do have a prize pool for both stages. So for the current stage, these teams are competing for a $5,000 first place prize. Second team to get to the grand finals will get $2,500, and then $1,000 will be awarded to the team that gets 3rd place. But unfortunately, that 3rd place team will not be flying for the offline final. It's only going to be 1st and 2nd place. Now, there is an added bonus actually. We do see the final prize pool, but here's the thing. The teams that qualify for the finals also automatically qualify for $1,500 on top of what they currently have minimum because they already made it.
That's right. And speaking of which, of course, we will definitely see who will emerge as the victors of the entirety of the circuit by then. But let's also go through the rules once again for those trainers that are looking forward to the matches and this is your first time. This will be the general rules where it's just like any other Pokemon Unite matches. It will be 10 minutes, but they will be playing in a best of 3, 5 versus 5. We'll be also having the stadium to be in Tea's Sky Ruins. And here's the catch. No use limits on those items, as well as now they also get to pick their support emblems, I do believe.
Yeah, the medals. So
yeah.
all medals are enabled. There are no limitations at all. They are all available. So this is, again, I think we mentioned this last week. It adds that extra layer of complexity, I suppose. Like, unfortunately, us viewers and casters, we don't get to see what medals the teams and players are using, but it does add to the builds. Like, is it going to be a tankier defender? Have they actually decided to build for more attack, more special attack, more health? There's a lot of things that happen behind the scenes that we unfortunately don't get to see, but at least we get to see items. Now, speaking of, we are playing in draft mode, and if you are new to this mode, essentially what happens are both teams will be allowed to ban a single Pokemon each. This banned Pokemon will not be available for the opposition.
That's right.
So for example, if both teams ban Sableye, nobody can pick Sableye. But if someone, let's say Team A bans it, but Team B doesn't, Team A can still pick that Sableye and not have to worry about it being stolen away. Now, aside from that, from the pick phase, one team will be able to have access to that first pick, but they'll only pick one Pokemon. Following that, both teams will take turns picking 2 Pokemon each up until that last Pokemon, which is going to go to the second team that got second pick. So that's their reward for not getting first pick. After your pick phase, we have the preparation phase where teams are allowed to swap their drafted Pokemon amongst each other if they want to go for a confusing draft. So even though you see your favorite player picking a wacky Pokemon, it might not be for them.
Exactly, and this is where it really is crucial that they work together as a team to plan things out, whether it's before they even get into the match or even having all of it being set in stone where, hey, they've picked this Pokemon, and I think that maybe there is something else that we can just catch them off guard with. And that's why the preparation phase definitely gives them a little bit more of an element of surprise to perhaps the opposing team.
Exactly. We saw this last week with Team Rise. So for anyone that didn't catch the game last week, I think it was Team Rise versus MYS. So previously we saw Team Rise. They were a very heavy favorites when it came to picking Dodrio. It would always be picked on Eeyore. Now in last week's matchup, they did pick up the Dodrio, but it actually went to Axew, which is something new. So that's the kind of stuff that you can have. But of course, speaking of last week, let's have a quick snapshot at what happened in last week's games.
피가 몰래 100점 넣고 뒷문을 열어버려요. 그러면 여기서 노쇼는 살아있는 게 중요해요. 그렇죠. 살아있는 게 중요한데 오히려 잡는다면 이건 대형 사고죠. 에페가 잡았고 이거 카이팅 당하는데요 지금. 킬 가르다가 뒤쪽 갈래면서 이거 진영 깨지는 것 같습니다. 에스포의 완벽한 스라카 움직임을 보여줍니다.
过头了，不过你要保军塔，这时候不是应该赶快开吗？哎。 BKD 的位置不是特别好，幸福蛋直接飞过来救他，看能不能把他补起来，一直补，还差那么一点点，只有顶住了吗？顶不住，有换掉一个，勉勉强强还行。BKD 还在输出，真的换住了，金福蛋没倒，金福蛋护驾成功，哇，太神了！
So
Are they gonna get it?
I think in this match, yeah, right side.
Escape 5's got it.
Doesn't really matter though. That's the question. Like, do they do enough damage? Because look at this. Like, if you're MYS, maybe you just turn and go onto Escape 5 side of the map.
They're just gonna go all the way to the back. I think this Business Store might just be able to put in enough points, 100, but they still need a little bit more than 50. Oh, it got cancelled. They're just extending all the way out just to hope that Renaissance doesn't extend their points and they will still get their hands on Blissey.
Yeah, they do get the knock-knock in the back lines, but I just don't think it matters at this point. Eeyore does not do enough damage to threaten Renaissance. They're just so tanky, so strong. And watch this.
Okay.
Players from True Rippers are there. Things can go vary. Rayquaza is also being hurt right now and being knocked out. In the meantime, Might finds 2 KO streak, make it a 3rd KO streak. Can he take away his position with the block, gets pushed right into the mid, but he uses his Unite. Another Unite I think did get used, but a Unite coming in from wall finds value, eliminates the slow bro, and now Swifty trying to make use of his own, but a brilliant play coming in from...
엄청나긴 하네요. 근데 우라우스 기가 묶여가지고 지금 기동력 좀 아쉽거든요.
자, 잔디가 계속 킬을 넣어줘야죠.
이러면서 계속 채워주고
에스포엘 위험합니다.
바닥뼈가 살짝 끌었고 와 이거를 컨트롤 싸움에서 에스포엘이 리드했어요.
And there you have it. If you think there were any games that you did want to watch completely, we do recommend going back to the VODs for that week. We do have them everywhere on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitch. Go back and watch those games. If you're looking to learn how to play Greedent, I think that's the best week to go back and learn on how to play that insanely crazy, annoying, tanky. What other word do we have to describe the Greedent?
Well, invincible.
Invincible, immortal. special. I think that's another one as well.
That's probably the best word you could basically use to describe it. And speak about looking back at the journey of some of all these teams, let's take a look at the standings as well as some of the matches that have also concluded and see where exactly they are placed. MYS, they have played 3 total series for the time being, and each record of theirs have been 2-1. They still end up with those 3 pointers, and they are currently ranked number 1. And Renaissance definitely is catching up. Meanwhile, they have played only 2 matches, but all of them have been clean games. Therefore, they secured 6 points. And followed by that, it will be Escape 5, who currently holds 4 points, as they did get 1 point out of the series against MYS. And when they were going up against Secret Rare, it was a 2-0 victory. And Renaissance match, they take them down 0-2.
Right, so of course for this week, it's going to be, I guess, a bit of a spotlight here for our teams competing. So the one team that's not playing is MYS. They are not competing this week. They will be playing in the final week for the first phase of the tournament, which means the remaining 4 teams are now going to have to battle it out for these next round of points. Now, of course, Renaissance looking to catch up to MYS here with a 3-point victory for their series. Escape 5, kind of in the same position, right? Like this team, they've played 3 games. This is their last game for the entirety of the tournament before their fates are left in the hands of everyone else. They kind of need to win here if they want to keep this 3rd spot.
That's right, and you don't really want to slip into the 4th position, because that will mean that they will have the longest hurdle alongside with the 5th seed itself. So there is a very good chance where we'll see a little bit of a switch of position if there's going to be step up from the 4th as well as 5th seed versus Escape 5 on turn.
Yeah. Now, speaking of, we're going to take a look at our first team that's going to be playing our first round, and it's going to be Rise, the Indonesian champions from the Indonesian Open 2022. Now, they've played 2 matchups so far, the first against MYS, which they unfortunately lost, but they did manage to pull it to a 3-game series, and then their next matchup was up against Renaissance. Now, we did see this matchup last week, and it was, to put it bluntly, a really tough series to watch if you're a Rise fan. But hopefully, against Escape 5 this week, we might see this team rise back up.
That's right, and I think that that definitely will be a huge comeback story if they do get some good rounds out of this upcoming match that they will be playing against Escape 5 and then against Secret Rare. It's all about who really gets to climb at least a ladder higher throughout the gauntlet run. So Secret Rare, sure, they did have their fair share of struggles, but now there seems to be at least a glimmer of hope for some of these teams to at least get themselves into a better state.
Yeah, but we do need to shine a spotlight on Escape 5 here, right? This is the team that's going to be playing up against Rise in our first matchup of the day. They also kind of need to win this game because, again, this is their final best of 3 for the tournament. We're going to show the stats for Escape 5 as well, so we can see how they've done during the first phase of the tournament. Now, they're sitting pretty comfy. They are in 3rd spot right now with 4 points, I believe. But they kind of need to guarantee that 3rd spot by winning here. Otherwise, they might be in contention to lose that 3rd spot if Rise take a game off of them here. So here is the total record for Escape 5 so far. Unfortunately, they got 2-0'd by Renaissance in week 1, but they did manage to secure a 2-0 victory over Secret Rare in week 2. Now, in their games last week against MYS, they did pull it to 3 games, but they weren't quite able to cross that finish line, and unfortunately only took home 1 point from that series. And now in their final best of 3 for the first phase of the tournament, they have to beat Rise. It doesn't matter if it's a 2-1, if it's a 2-0. I think if they're able to pull out a victory here, those 3 points should be able to guarantee the 3rd spot here for Escape 5.
Yeah, and when we compare both of these teams that are about to play against each other, like Escape 5 definitely have a very definitive team fight playstyle overall versus Team Rise's team comm that did have different facets of it, but they do thrive in terms of having that Dodrio composition for them to actually sneak into the back to get some points in, and also they've been trying and experimenting on how they would work better in terms of team fight. Who knows? Maybe they have already figured out how to decipher the team fighting styles of Escape 5.
Yeah, I mean, both of these teams, there's a lot of information out there that I don't really think you're in a position to hide your cards anymore, especially for Escape 5, considering this is their last game. If there's a secret, if there's a card, if there's a strat that they've been keeping up until this point,
leave it on the table.
Yeah, you got to put it on the table now and guarantee that third spot. The reason why I keep pushing for this third spot guarantee is that they are effectively dodging that match between the 4th and 5th seed for the second phase, right? You want to dodge as many matches as possible to have the smoothest ride to potentially qualifying for that LAN final. Now we are about to jump into this game, Contra. Who do we have from Rise and Escape 5?
I'll start off with Escape 5. We got Mudok, Mukrop, Winnie, Jazz, as well as Blacklight. And what about Rise?
We have Zoe, Eeyore, AxeQ, Necro, and Illuna. Now, we do have a lot of information on these teams so far. On the side of Rise, we saw this team favoring Dojrio quite a lot throughout the tournament. Right? If anything, I kind of say that they relied on it to win their games. The team has a bit of a shortcoming where they seem to struggle scoring points, right? We don't see too many of their teams distributing point scoring. It's mostly been allocated to that one person, mostly on the Dojrio player, either Eeyore or AxeQ. But Escape 5, I feel like they're also kind of good with Dojrio, so we might be seeing a bit of a fight here for that Pokemon.
Indeed, and they usually play with Mukrop as well as Winnie being the focal point of getting themselves the advantage. But before we even get to the game, let's take a look at some of their profiles. We start with AxeQ, where he played his first MOBA title when he was just 13 years old. So imagine how many years has he been getting experience to be so good at the game.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we've seen some great stuff from AxeQ on the side of Rise, especially in their previous matchup. Although then again, I kind of feel like we also didn't see the full potential of Rise overall, just because they had such a difficult opponent in Renaissance. But I am looking forward to seeing what Rise are going to pull out to try and take this win away from Escape 5. Do they have any Pokemon that they're going to suddenly pull out and say like, hey, deal with this? Just like what we saw last week with all the Greedent picks.
And like when we have seen Team Rise attempt some of all these team fights, we see massive improvements as well. And despite that, going up against probably one of the heavy favorites, I think they managed to somehow hold their own. I can't really say the same about Game 2 because of the Greedent that was so tough to be dealt with. So I think like by now they should have actually had the wealth of experience to know that, oh, there are certain weaknesses that we have to work on, and there are strengths that we can play towards too.
Absolutely. Now we are going to take a look at the player card for Escape 5. Let's see who's going to be the representative this time. It's going to be Jazz, who loves to play the Mr. Mime and Snorlax. His good luck meal is a omelette, and he likes reading novels. We had him last week as well. I think we sort of had the discussion where it's like, what kind of an omelette was it? And I think it was omu rice. But you said it. Yeah. I didn't say it. I forgot the name.
Did he change his Pokemon as well? I remember it having another Pokemon. Was it a Slowbro? Now he's like, I like Snorlax too.
No. It was definitely Snorlax and Mr. Mime.
Ah, right.
Yeah. It's all good. I mean, we saw some pretty interesting stuff from Jazz as well. So let's just see what's going to happen here for both teams for this week, because Escape 5, last game, desperate measures call for desperate plays, desperate drafts. Just gotta go all out.
This time, I mean, they have to start on a clean slate. They don't
Support
really have to
Pikachu. Let's go. I mean,
Support Pikachu?
Why would you have the Pikachu sticker on your player profile?
Oh, maybe that's quite the telling sign. Could this be the day where they actually unveil, like, you did mention that this is going to be the final game for, of course,
Escape
the Thai
5.
Open champion. So I feel like, just go ahead. Either you want to surprise everybody out there, or you just want to show them that there's a different way to play out this game.
Well, I mean, this wouldn't be the first time I think we saw Support Pikachu. I don't remember if it was East Asia or Southeast Asia, but let's see. I mean, I could be completely wrong. Support Pikachu is definitely not a norm. It is very much a niche pick. But Game 1 is going to begin in just 5 seconds here between Rise and Escape 5. It is going to be the Sableye and Urshifu Ben.
Well, I think like this is quite standard to begin with, and Rise, we are thinking about that Dodrio that they've always leaned towards to, and I'm hoping to see that AXQ goes for it once again. And yes, indeed, they will basically get that locked in, but now that also leaves a lot of space for Pokemon like Mew, and we also do have Scissors, Scyther to
Urshifu
be on
even.
board.
Yeah, I mean,
Urshifu's
even... No, Urshifu... So Escape 5, because they banned Urshifu, I do believe that means they can still pick it. It just means that Rise cannot pick Urshifu.
I see.
Yes. Although I could be wrong. Who knows? But Alolan Ninetales and Blissey, I mean, we've seen a lot of Alolan Ninetales recently.
Blastoise?
I was asking for... Oh, okay, never mind. my hopes and dreams.
Oh boy.
I was talking to Contra before the broadcast, and I said, like, what if Blastoise makes an appearance? Because I don't remember if we've seen any. If we have, it's likely just one. But so far, no Blastoise. Rather normal picks across the board. Scyther and Delphox for Rise. Snorlax and Absol. Now, Absol's starting to be a common pick for these teams, it seems, especially if you can't get access to Scyther. But Rise, it looks like Illuna might be playing the Mammoth side. Flicks off of it. Wigglytuff, I'm okay with it, but I'm just sad that not many teams are really using that Mammoth sign.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And for the record, I mean, like, Scissor Cider was still open up. They didn't actually go for it. So I think, like, there's a really huge plan to just have overwhelming burst damage for... Oh, wait.
It was picked on Rise.
I'll hold it back because Necro has it in the back. So don't mind me. If I look back into Escape 5, I think going back on that point, like, they can basically single out a Pokemon in those respective fights, and they have high possibilities of catching AXQ on that Dodrio.
Yeah, I think it is very possible. If you're Escape 5 and you've seen how Rise play, it really seems that you have to watch where AXQ goes. If you can deny the scoring, it really sets Rise back as a team. Now, I don't blame Rise for actually first picking Dodrio, because firstly, they're comfortable with the Pokemon, and it's the first game. Like, you kind of want to get those feelers out there before you jump into the next matchup, whether you win or lose. But of course, Escape 5, they're going to have to expect it, right? I think it would be foolish to not expect Dodrio to potentially get first picked.
Exactly. Now we're about to begin it all here in the Taya Sky Ruins. Now, my question to you, Danny, like,
here we go.
We're going to be looking at a Wigglytuff front line. Is that actually enough for Team Rise? Sure, you have the Scyther that's on board. Do you think that it will eventually turn into a Scissor instead?
I don't think so. I think it's still going to be the Scyther, because if you look at the lineup for Rise, if it's going to be Scissor, they would be relying completely on Eeyore to do all the damage for the team, right? Because Wigglytuff, it's not so much there for damage, but more for utility, for frontlining, for shielding. Same with Mr. Mime. Mr. Mime's not really there for the big damage. It's occasionally Dodrio, but it would be all on Eeyore if it was Scissor. I'm very happy if they do go for that Scyther, because you've got that burst, you can jump the back line, maybe try and snipe the Alolan Ninetales, and heck, you can even turn around onto the Absol.
Yeah, I think like they're going to be having a lot more backdoor strategies heading into the late game instead, with this sort of options being left open up. Ooh. Meanwhile, this is looking to be slightly concerning for some of the members of Team Rise, where they did take a lot of ample damage in the early game, and if they start to lose too much, like Escape 5, they will eventually take more control of the central area and maybe even extend to all the other wild Pokemons that's available for grabs.
Yeah, exactly. But unfortunately here for Rise, their lane is in a very defensive position. You can tell that they're like not super confident going into Escape 5, because Wigglytuff isn't a healer, right? It doesn't give you any health sustain. You kind of have to rely on your goal pad to give you that healing. And so with all the pressure that Escape 5 can apply in the top lane, and the fact that all the Pokemon there have some kind of sustain, it's really difficult to pressure up there. But got to be very careful. You don't want to be giving any experience away if you can afford it.
Exactly so. Zoe now got to run. The Mime will definitely have a little bit more of a space, but instead there is Moocrop to be able to at least cut off the exit plans, and that will be one of the first knockouts that we see from Escape 5.
And it looks like they're going to get Necro as well, so that's going to be two big KOs on the Absol. This is something I would be worried about if I'm Rise. You've given away 2 big knockouts to their Absol. This is a Pokemon that can absolutely snowball if given the opportunity. And yeah, another one. He will get punished because of that duo that just evolves into Dodrio. But you've already given away those levels. So all of a sudden, when Absol comes back onto the field, very likely you're going to be looking for another KO and potentially scoring in that goal zone.
Exactly, and this is going to be a little bit more of a power spike now. There will be a 1 versus 1 between XQ as well as Moocrop, and he definitely doesn't seem to have much damage to offer, so he will just back away.
Yeah, exactly. So no big movements aside from Escape 5 when they had the Absol rotating, but now we're starting to see the power of Winnie's. We've seen what Serena can do, especially if she's left unchecked. She's able to self-sustain, she's rather tanky, and a lot of Pokemon don't want to go into 1v1 against her. So Winnie is just going to get bigger and bigger. We'll get a big 30-point score up here and potentially just go for the solo maybe onto Aleki's thinking about it. But the rest of his team, though, yeah, still fighting in that bottom lane. And so far, Escape 5, they are slowly running out of resources, hoping Moocrop can get some big KOs. He will steal that Citrus Berry away, but it looks like they will take the Snorlax in the process. Oh, Fanciful Fireworks. They really want Moocrop, but they just can't catch him.
And look at how scattered the fight is, but Rise is slowly taking over the Regis while they still have it pretty much under control. There's not going to be any form of an entry, but was that a steal?
No, it wasn't. It was Rise.
But they do get the Regieleki on the top side, though.
Yeah, I don't think it really matters, though, because Rise are looking to get this experience and to start snowballing with it. But it looks like they will get that 1 KO, but they actually managed to get a counter KO on that Delphox. Moocrop still being a threat on this field, but
Necro!
The Scyther! Necro's like, no, get off this goal zone. Here comes a Serena, but here's the thing, though. Serena, although she's tanky against a 4-player lineup, it's just not going to be enough. The KO will be there. They will counter knock out that Scyther, but is it going to be a little bit too pricey here? Axq looking to back out, and the rest of his team are going to be sent reeling, and it looks like they might lose Zoe in the process. And Illuna stuck around trying to use the Sing. Maybe they can turn this around and provide an opening for the Scyther, but there's no damage here. They're just buying time.
Yeah, and Team Rise did overstay their welcome overall, and look at that. They still have the Dodrio to squeeze all the way back into the goal zone. And Jazz, he's got to run. Zoe is slowly clipping him, but they still have the Absol here to back them up. Here comes Moocrop's time to shine. They do get the heavy stand connected, and that will be the first knockout onto the Wigglytuff. Moocrop still on the chase, but that's a Dodrio. It's going to take a little bit more effort, and they will find the damage true. And there we go, the Unite move being popped, and still on a hunt, but they will be shoved back.
Moocrop, he's doing some good work so far, but he has to be so careful going up against these Pokemon. But now the punishment is there. Rise were able to survive just long enough to outlast Escape 5, and now they're going to go for a push themselves. I do want to admire Escape 5 for that very aggressive play, although unfortunately they just weren't able to capitalize on the Bliss-assisted Absol. We saw it being used, but there was just no opening for Absol to benefit from that bonus damage. So it basically just ran out when they were chasing.
Yeah, speaking of the Blissey, I mean, now they're running into trouble once more and immediately gets bursted out. Ehur secures it while there is still the Absol here to also retaliate. They won't have enough damage. The Snorlax also goes down. And Rise, they keep streaking on this. And just in the nick of time, the Regirock will also be in their hands.
Yeah, looks like Rise are going to be getting a nice chunk of experience after this battle. Yeah, I suppose Axq is going to also get those points in, but what's the plan here for Escape 5 now? Because so far this game has been rather heavy in favor of Rise. Escape 5 are the ones trying to play catch-up here. And again, 2 more Pokemon just get knocked out in this skirmish. Now down to 3. They're potentially going to lose that Blissey in that bottom lane as it is being chased.
I see another problem here. Nobody's dealing with the Dodrio.
Yeah.
I mean, they're committing to every single fight. It doesn't really matter because this Dodrio is just scoring, and somebody's got to basically keep their watch. Escape 5, they cannot afford to lose too many points in these early matches, but there's still 1 minute to Rayquaza. I guess this is where they will flip the coin.
Yeah, it looks like it. Oh, they don't catch Axq, but they are getting some crits there with the Absol. Might have to use this a triple trample. Oh, you will get it though.
That was huge.
Big knockout from Moocrop, but looks like we're going to be seeing a one final skirmish before that Rayquaza Rayquaza comes back up, but they've already lost the Serena. It went down so quickly. The Snorlax just came in way too late. They will try to block some Pokemon, throw them off that goal zone. Bottom lane, though, getting some points in there with the Alola Ninetales, but with Ninetales down there, where's the damage?
Not much, apparently, where every single Pokemon that has the damage to output were actually looking to score. Now they just set up the Regieleki in time, but that's basically half a minute before Rayquaza. There's still a little bit more room for Escape 5 to defend from having this Lecky crashing into the goal zone itself.
Are they just going to leave it?
Probably so. Just looking at the current position, they're not willing to give in.
Okay, so they're just going to leave it. Dodrio, now luckily for Escape 5, is in that bottom lane. He looks like Scyther's going to try and go for a back cap here, and Scyther is great for this. He's very mobile. He's absolutely going to make it, and I think if you're Escape 5, you're going to regret this decision. Snorlax is going to go back. He's going to try and defend it, but nope, the 100 points go in, and now I guess we are going to start seeing that skirmish in that central area very soon. But here's the question. Who's going to get the better positioning? Because it's a 4v5 until that Scyther gets into that battle.
That's right, and you're looking at the Scyther really taking his options here. Oh, they're using it all too soon. And there we go. They're going to commit to this fight.
They're going to commit so far, though. Winnie is really struggling. He's already less than half health. Dodrio is going to be scoring inside that central goal zone. And it looks like Serena's going to come in. Big knockout on Axeq here. That's going to be a successful KO. Now, all of a sudden, look at the defensive positioning there on Rise. They're trying to stay back. And now it looks like this Rayquaza is exposed. Escape 5 looking to maybe grab this and try and go for some big scores. But you know what's going to happen with Rise. They will have to eventually come for this defense. But Mukrob looking to back cap? No, he's looking to backstab instead. Jazz going to be holding the front line so far, luckily just getting enough shielding, but look at this, Absol wanting to jump onto Eeyore. He won't successfully connect. Dodrio getting a big KO though. Now it's going to be a player advantage here for Rise, 4 versus 5. And look at Mukrob, he's being chased by Axeq. There's no way you run from this.
No way at all, and time is of the essence. 14 more seconds, and you even find a Snorlax. Now, Rise don't even need that Rayquaza anymore. They could just go directly to the goal zones. But look at the sneaky attacks. Moodop managed to squeeze some points, but it's still barely enough. Axeq does so much more in the final zone. And there we go, Queen's Ascendant. But it's too little, too late. 20 seconds, and they need more than 100 points.
Yeah, it's so difficult. Like, this Rayquaza fight had such a fine line. They had to win this fight, but there were so many prerequisites they had to meet. They had to eliminate the Dullfox in the back line. They also had to make sure that their Pokemon didn't get caught out by a Scyther. They also had to be wary of when some of these Unites were being used. And they just couldn't meet every checkbox.
Yeah, and with that being said, Rise secures their very first pointer here for today, and they will look forward for a 3-pointer run. But let's go back into this matchup here. I think like there's a few things for Escape 5 to assess, because sure, there was Axeq that was being problematic, but nobody seemed to be able to handle that split push pressure, not only from this Dodger itself. I think like Necro has so much impact because he has put in 107 by himself too.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is to be expected. This is very Rise, to be completely honest. Like, if Necro didn't score that 100 in the top lane, and I'm not sure if Zoe also scored during the double points, but we know for a fact that it was basically just Axeq scoring for the entirety of the team. Like, this is just a very Rise thing. Only one player's really scoring. So, Escape 5... I could understand what they wanted to do with the lineup. They wanted to be the ones to win the team fights. It was just, they didn't win the team fights, even when Axeq wasn't there.
I felt like Escape 5 tunneled too much on those team fights, and that was the bane of it, because sure, you did have quite a significant output when it comes down to the team fights itself. They did manage to win a couple of skirmishes, but at what cost though? I mean, somebody's got to look out for all these goal zones at the end of the day. And with that being said, I feel like Escape 5 will have to look into the draft once more to see something that's a lot more compatible so that they can have somebody to defend very effectively. Is it Greedent time?
I don't know if these teams play Greedent, right? Like, Greedent is a very particular Pokemon that has to be played a particular way. I guess like maybe another thing I want to add here for Escape 5 is maybe to reassess their draft, because I do think I wasn't a big fan of the Serena pick. I didn't feel like it was really impactful enough for the team. Like we did see them counter scoring with the Serena. The Queen Ascendant is a really good Unite, but she just went down far too quickly to really justify the pick. Like the whole reason you pick Serena is that she is immortal in those team fights. She's constantly life stealing because she's dealing AoE damage. But the nature of Ryze's lineup, like they don't really clump. So how are you going to be able to out-sustain the damage you're taking? Like Delphox is probably the best burst ranged Pokemon right now.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Like overall, like there wasn't exactly a point in time where anybody could safely get all the way to the back line to catch out this Delphox, and when they do, they usually come with another punishment to follow up with. So Team Rise definitely had a lot more room to just keep going in these battles, and they never backed down, and they kept accepting these challenges coming in from Escape 5. Sure, there was a little bit of overextension in that early game, but at a very good evaluation as well, where they understood they could still defend, they could still hold out until like more and more of these Pokemon get revived once more. So I guess heading into the final few battles, it's a little bit more of that overcommitment into, oh, let's basically take out every Team Rise member until we can get our hands on Rayquaza. And they lasted out the whole stretch of it that there was no time to even execute on the Rayquaza attempt.
Yeah, I do agree. They really needed a bigger lead, especially when they were especially when Axeq got knocked out, right? Like they really needed to capitalize on when he was off the field, and they just couldn't quite get enough follow-up. And I think they were also too scared to fully commit to Rayquaza because they weren't 100% sure that they could firstly do enough damage to guarantee the take. It could have been stolen very easily.
We were looking at the Rayquaza, and we seem to see a lack of DPS out of Escape 5, because whoever that was set up there, like, sure, they have the Snorlax and all the other defenders that's on board. Like,
they don't have anyone that can shred
Absol was really far away.
Yeah, so Absol was far, and they didn't really have the right Pokemon there to shred it. I think that's a probably really good way of approaching it. So it's again, it's a lineup thing. Like, do you have the right Pokemon to shred Rayquaza if you're in an advantageous position? We've seen teams do it. For example, I think it was the first game that comes to mind again is that High Five Garchomp Delphox Mew game, right? Where they just had the Garchomp sitting in the Rayquaza pit, and he's probably one of the best Pokemon to solo Rayquaza. He does so much damage, he takes it out so quickly by himself. If you have a Pokemon like that, you can pressure the opponents to fight into you so that you can react.
Which is what Team Rise did perfectly, because like they understand the composition and they had that full discipline to just let the opponents make the first move, and therefore they can eventually find that benefit. And despite them not really coming to terms with the Rayquaza, I think like they've gotten the right pickoffs, and they've also created just about enough space in order to win the final stretch.
Exactly.
Now, let's head over to another great draft.
Yes, game number 2 between Rise and Escape 5. Is it going to be a game 3, or will Rise secure a 2-0? As we wait for the final bans, I do want to remind our Pokemon trainers, if you weren't here earlier on in the broadcast, we do want to quickly mention that this game is currently being played on the old patch. We are not on the new patch. The players did play this technically last week. This is a pre-recorded broadcast. So in case anyone is wondering why we're looking at old Pokemon, here is the reason. We want to be very clear on what is going on and how the players are currently playing the game. Now, as we jump into game number 2 here, it's going to be another Dodrio on the side of Rise. They did see success in it last game, so of course it makes sense to pick it up again. But Escape 5, what is the reactionary pick?
I do like the fact that Escape 5 actually invested the ban onto that Scissor, because he was basically the secondary threat.
Yes.
Now that they have removed one problem, now all they have to do is to face that Dodrio hits on, right? Like, and to deal with that, you now have a Clefable on board, and they're also picking into an Urshifu. So I guess like that tells Rise to fully commit into these battles. Therefore, this is the reason why they see this fit to have that Delphox on board yet again.
Yeah, so looking at the Pokemon on the side of Rise, if you're Escape 5, you kind of want to pick up a diver, someone that can get into the back lines and really start harassing Eeyore, because we saw last game Eeyore was left uncontested. I also want to quickly mention here the Clefable pick. I think this is massive. Being able to pick up gravity and landing a gravity onto something like the Delphox or the Dodrio, that essentially leaves these Pokemon like sitting ducks. They are not able to dash, and maybe this is the turning point for Escape 5. Having the Clefable stopping these Pokemon from being able to dodge your frontliners. Now, Tyranitar for Winnies, we've seen what this man can do. Is this going to be the win condition?
That's right. We will definitely have to bank it on winning it this time around, and they are also considering Cramorant in this final possible matchup for Escape 5. So is this going to be the recipe of success? I really do wonder. For Team Rise, essentially they're running it back now with that Snorlax as well as Urshifu on board. I think like this is still going to be stable.
They swapped it
on the Clefable.
Yeah, they've also swapped it. So
Blacklight.
Yeah, so Winnie is also going to be playing on the Cramorant. So
this is the first time I'm seeing Blacklight play it, I believe.
Yes, so I think big changes. So Winnie is going to be playing on the Cram, and yeah, Blacklight. That means it's going to be lane Tyranitar.
Wow.
I think it's lane. I mean, unless they change like where they go and it's like, hey, Blacklight, you can go central area with Tyranitar. Who knows? Maybe there's a particular way that Blacklight plays and they're like, hey, we kind of need you to be the Tyranitar this game. I mean, I'm really keen to see what they do.
Very, very exciting. I mean, I just can't wait for this to unfold already. And for the fact that Necro is the one on this Urshifu, you would definitely have a hint of the same sort of playstyle that he had on that Scissor.
Yeah, top lane as well. It guarantees you're going up against top lane Urshifu.
So with that being said, like I feel like Team Rise never really changed that game plan. Like they're just gonna run it back, and this time around, like they have another thing to deal with. How are they going to stop this Tyranitar from having an easy time in the early game?
Well, I don't even know if this is going to be a good game for Tyranitar as well, right? Because again, Tyranitar are very momentum-based Pokemon that you can very easily slow. He's a very late bloomer, so before he hits Tyranitar, he's really vulnerable to getting jumped on. But we are starting to see a bit of a tussle in that top lane so far, but Pokemon that seem to be losing health is more on the side of Escape 5. But here's the good thing, right? You've picked up the Cramorant. He's going to be sitting in that top lane. I think Cramorant has to be one of the most annoying Pokemon to last hit against because you have to deal with that Whirlpool.
That's right, and this is where, of course, they can change the course of the battle with that. And I'm just looking at a very calculated move coming in from both ends of the team in this early game. And Moonkrop just waiting to strike. And we finally do see Illuna evolving into a Wigglytuff and pincer them to a wall. That could have actually been quite a good commitment, but of course, Necro came in a little bit late as he was slowly evolving into the Urshifu.
Yeah, an unsuccessful battle in that bottom lane, it seems. Like, we didn't see any KOs. Now, unfortunate thing here for Escape 5 is Clefable has currently not evolved as of yet, and this is going to be a bit problematic because if Mudok evolved a little bit quicker, I think they've actually would have been able to punish the two Pokemon on the side of Rise, but unlucky with those last hits on the wild Pokemon, you kind of missed that timing, and he's just going to have to hope that these objective battles might be where Clefable comes back. Black Knight finally going to be evolving into that Pupitar, so we are starting to see step 2 happen for the Tyranitar, but here's the question again. How quickly can he hit Tyranitar?
Yeah, and like we're already seeing at least a little bit more pressure being created over on the bottom end. And oh, Illuna, that doesn't seem to be a good position, but thankfully he's out of there.
Yeah, looks like Mudok taking quite a bit of damage himself, but he has gone for the Moonlight build, so a lot of sustain on the side of Escape 5. They are looking to try and fight for as long as possible. They do have they actually have healing compared to Rise, but Rise have burst. So if Rise knock out your Pokemon, healing kind of doesn't matter.
Yeah, which is why like it really boils down to a lot of execution, while AXQ have always been causing a little bit more problems over the top side, where now this Cramorant will have to deal with it. So they really have to quickly decide how many members will they need to commit to the Reggie.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's also how much they value the Reggie as well. Are they confident enough to take that Reggie away? Because again, you're going up against an Urshifu, and unless you can get a good position on that Delphox, you have to worry about where some of those fireballs are going to be coming from as well. And it looks like Zoe has spotted out Escape 5, and that was a really big heavy slam. I think that might have just single-handedly won them the fight. No, it looks like Dodrio is actually getting eliminated in that top lane.
It doesn't even look like a fight to begin with.
I don't think so. But look at this though, aggressive positioning from Rise. They say like, hey, we kind of don't really need to fully contest for a team fight, but we're gonna try and take these two Pokemon out anyway. And look at this, poor Moodog by himself just gets taken out. Escape 5, this is where they're gonna struggle, but I think at the 6-minute mark, they might have to turn around and show who's the boss.
There's just so many points being scored in this one fall swoop of a rotation, and Team Rise, they're just applying pressure everywhere to the point that they finally caught out the Dodrio. So
if Blacklight can score, this is big. Oh, but it gets cancelled. He's scared. He saw the Wigglytuff, and he's all alone, so he's going to be pushed back as well. Where's the... There's no...
I believe that there is a little bit of glimmer of hope, but there's not enough. I mean, the Snorlax...
They're just going to leave
It's just body blocking him, basically.
They're just leaving. Okay.
That they open up room over the top side, so great for him. Bought enough time.
Sure. I mean, I'm not a big fan because they've also delayed the Tyranitar's evolution by about 20 to 30 seconds, which is really big. Gatling got Missile. Interesting choice, but I do believe they got the KO. Actually, I think that was defensive. We didn't quite get to see that battle, but that means there's no Unite on the Cram. But I mean, does it really matter? Look at how many Pokemon are going down on Escape 5.
My word.
No.
Just look at that go, and suddenly the tides have definitely turned, and Rise is now about 100 points up against Escape 5, and they're losing the Regieleki towards Team Rise as well. So what really is the play for Escape 5? Because that usual team fighting style isn't exactly working out because this Tyranitar is evolving so late, but they could still try once more now that Blacklight could have some impact in these battles.
Yeah, this is the scary thing I was really worried about, because if you hit Tyranitar, or at least at level 9 late, it really hinders his ability going into that late game, because you want to have him involved in a team fight as soon as possible when he hits that evolution. But he is going to try and make it to that bottom fight, but I don't think it really matters. They can Escape 5 even survive for long enough? There's just too much shielding, too much sustain on Rise, and now they're just going to slowly take these Pokemon away. At least Delphox gets taken out though by the Absol. Now they're going to try and turn around. Looks like it's going to be a Rise last hit onto the objective, and these Pokemon are now going down. Escape 5 turning this fight around. Yes, they didn't get the Reggie, but they're getting big knockouts on high-level Pokemon.
Moocrop is trying to bring this game back in favor of Escape 5. Now is the golden opportunity for them to score, but the Dodrio is coming in the way. I believe that they have finally neutralized some of the pressure here, so it's really going down to the very final battle. But what my concern was, when they were trying to defend the Regieleki from crashing into the second goal zone instead, you're basically allowing Team Rise to secure the Registeel overall, and like...
I mean, it's Registeel as well.
Yeah, like...
That's a special attack and attack
You really
boost.
needed the turn there, and I felt like that was a little bit of a miscalculation from their end.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, clearly there's a decision, right? They're saying like, hey, we need to sack you. Just make sure you get these objectives in the meantime. But so far, Escape 5 playing aggressive, but beautiful, fanciful fireworks. Now they've already lost one Pokemon, 2 Pokemon down on Escape 5. And this is at the 3-minute mark as well. Big KOs for Rise. I can understand Escape 5 wanting to have all these team fights. They do get a KO on the Dodrio, thankfully due to Blacklight. But again, I really worry about this team going into the late game.
Yeah, so it's all boiling down to that Rayquaza fight.
Exactly.
Eventually, it's happening really soon, but Winnie is definitely getting the situation dealt with over on the top end, and they're also having the Absol slowly moving on top of them as well. So maybe if they do get a pick off right here and now, they can have a chance to land that Rayquaza.
Ooh, big crits! Big crits! Oh, I can't get it. Moocrop. Here's the thing with Absol. Sometimes you really need to get lucky with the crits. Oh, gotta be so careful with that drill peck, especially as someone as squishy as Cramorant.
And overall, at least now that they get that priority onto that Regieleki, they can set themselves into a better position. But, you know, Team Rise, Steel Man and I, yeah, sure, just let it crash. I still have that Dodrio. They can still defend for the time being. But Mudok needs to stay healthy for the time being. Black Knight should have the Unite up available, so it's all about pouring them up. Team Rise, they're slowly getting cut off. But instead, they found that pick against the Cormorant.
Big mistake, but at least we got a 100-pointer coming in from the Tyranitar. But look at this, though. Pokemon are going down on Escape 5.
Oh, no, they need him right there. And where is Tyranitar? He's finally joining into the fight, but it is too little, too late. This Absol's running out, and they all focus, firing him down. And there's no more tread left available. Team Rise might just actually get this back-to-back win.
Mookrop's going to try and go for the 100-pointer here. Now, here's the thing. Can Escape 5 somehow contest, force Rise back? This Rayquaza's still up, and it looks like it will go in favor of Rise. Escape 5 just have to break the shield, prevent them from having this easy score, but it looks like Zoe is going to score a nice, how many points is that? I can't do math. That's a double. But we have a 100-pointer in that bottom lane. 100 points again, this time from the Urshifu, and we have a minute left to go. 2 Pokemon still off the field here for Escape 5. It's not over if they can somehow knock out some big Pokemon and score, I want to say 300 points. Escape 5 can still win this, but it's a big ask with 45 seconds left.
Yeah, I mean, they are all tunneling into the central area, still dealing with a Snorlax. I don't think they even have room. Take a look at the Urshifu. Necro's about to squeeze more points onto the table as well, and nobody's gonna stop him. And there we have it. This is just streaks and streaks of knockouts going in favor of XQ.
Oh my goodness, Rise are on point for today. They had amazing positioning, they had a very well-rounded draft, and it just felt like Escape 5 weren't really ready for Rise's general playstyle. They got a little bit lost having to deal with Dodrio's constant scoring, and then they even in team fights, they just couldn't win them.
Exactly, and I would say the Indonesian fans will definitely be cheering very, very loud on their screens, because this will be the clean 2-0 record being set by the Indonesian Open champions.
And this is also going to be a big downer for Escape 5, because firstly, their final game ends with a whopping 0 points added to their score. So they are now currently fixed at 4 points in 3rd place. But Rise, because they won, they now have 4 points. They are competing. They are competing with Escape 5 for that 3rd spot. So there's a very likely chance that Escape 5 might get knocked down to 4th, heck, even 5th place.
What a turn of events if that's going to be the case. And of course, even when they do tie up, it's going to be based on their head-to-head record if that's going to be the case. And Rise clearly does have the advantage after this successful best of 3.
Yeah, exactly. So Rise really putting on a show for today. I mean, they've got to be very happy with themselves for this. A 2-0, they prevented... If Escape 5 got a single point, or at least able to push this to a 3-game, then Rise wouldn't be in this position competing for 3rd place. So, oh my goodness. Essentially now, Escape 5's fate is in the hands of everyone else.
My, just how much more competitive can Southeast Asia get? And you just look at this wild chart of events, like all the points being scored by every single member this time around, instead of just banking onto the Dodrio. And like, when we take a look at the way that Team Rise grow, the play style in terms of how they handle team fights, like, I think that this is by far the most improved team that we have here in Southeast Asia.
Yeah, I definitely feel like this team just feels better and better after every single game. I'm kind of looking forward to seeing what they look like when they come to that 2nd phase, right? Where everyone has played their complete round-robin matches, the information is out there, they can do their due diligence in researching their opponents and really preparing those, I want to say, the stinky cheese strats, especially for that next phase. I mean, I'm a big fan for surprise picks, and I feel like Rise, they have played a rather similar style for the majority of the tournament, and I kind of feel like this might work in their favor. because you're going to come to expect a certain level of play from Rise, but of course in the most important moments, maybe that's when they pull out the crazy plays and no one's going to expect it.
Yeah, and overall, like when we look at the drafting phase, you know, like they opt to ban out the Scissor, but every single game that Team Rise actually get the chance to, they will pick the Dark Hero. So I was wondering maybe if they swapped it, could the result actually differ? Because like when we look at Team Rise, I mean, like they're just getting so much better on these team fights that I felt like they're really banking on hopes that Moorcrop just snowballs out of control, but this wasn't the case at all.
Yeah, it really wasn't the case. I mean, you could even say, why wasn't it banned? Right? There's always that question, because we've seen up until this point, Rise are very reliant on Dodrio because it just complements the team's overall play style. So ban it, push them out of their comfort zone, and then try and take advantage of that. But clearly they had other plans. They say like, okay, well, Dodrio is not annoying enough to be worth a ban, because I think they banned Sableye, and Sableye is a completely different issue.
Yeah, true enough. And when we take a look at the current standings, I think like it really got shaken up a little bit more.
Yeah.
Though they may still have a chance heading into the second stages of the run. You don't want to wait till then. So if they have anything to do, they have to learn from these matches. So with that being said, all the matches have already concluded for Escape 5. But Team Rise, I believe they still have one more battle to go.
Yeah, so I think out of all the teams, only Escape 5 have played all of their matches. Everyone else is either sitting at 2 or 3 games played. So for some of these teams, they're about to play their final game, whereas for others, they still have another one after this week. But here's the final score for our first best of 3 of the day. Rise securing a 2-0 victory over Escape 5 and are now contesting for that third place spot, with both teams tied at 4 points apiece. A very dangerous position to be, especially for Escape 5, because they no more games to play. It's now down to Rise and their performance moving forward.
Yeah, I'm just really happy for Team Rise. Like, just look at how well they've performed for today. Like, of course, through all the trials and tribulations of the past few weeks, they finally get to celebrate with a lot of all these great efforts that they've put out. And I really do wonder if we do get to speak to the boys, you know, like how exactly does it feel to finally get those clean 2-0 record to secure their very first 3-pointer?
Yeah, I think this would, if we manage to get this interview, this will be our first interview with the team, because they haven't won any games up until this point. So it would be, oh no, unfortunately we got some bad news, folks. We will unfortunately not be able to have an interview with Rise, but maybe in the future we will be able to speak to them. I'd love to hear their thoughts and especially get to know them as well, because I know for not just the viewers but also as casters, aside from the usual faces that we are very aware of and are existent in the scene, we love talking to some of the newer teams because you want to get to know them, their personalities, the team's play style. And I think in particular, I love knowing who's the shot caller, who's the drafter, and maybe sometimes whether or not the players get to decide what they play.
Yeah, that's right. And I do believe that the reason why they're not joining us here on the English broadcast, because, you know, we do also have the Bahasa Indonesia broadcast running at the same time. And they're just hanging out with, you know, the casters from their home region overall. So, yeah, I'm pretty sure that currently they're sharing the joy. And, of course, we can't help but to also feel extremely happy for them.
Exactly.
So, with that being said, of course, when we look forward to what we still have later on, another matchup, but let's take a look at the updated standings. And lo and behold, it's definitely Shiv for Team Rise. Now, they sit at the top 3 position.
So it says top 3. We will get confirmation for production if it's a tie here or if Rise is guaranteed top 3 from here on out. Because if it's guaranteed, if I was Escape 5, I would be so upset that I lost this spot.
Yeah, and Secret Rare actually does have a little bit of a glimmer of hope here, because when we take a look at the next matchup, I mean, they're going to fight against the Titans, but what are the chances here, Danley, having that upset to happen?
Oh, it's a big ask.
I mean, they did score 1 point against MYS, meaning to say it is a necessity for the Secret Rare to actually win a 2-0 match.
Yeah, it's against Renaissance of all teams. I think, to be honest, the chances of this being a 3-game series is pretty low because we haven't seen anyone really be able to put up a fight against Renaissance up until this point. I know both of us, we expect MYS to probably be the biggest battle. Yeah, the biggest threat to Renaissance so far, but I'm hoping Secret Rare can prove us wrong, you know? Secret Rare, they are a bunch of really young players. They're very hungry. They're ready to prove themselves. And, you know, to be here, it's a really big opportunity for them. So who knows? Maybe this matchup is going to light that fire and really prove that, hey, these guys didn't get in here for free. They deserve to be here.
And there's also the second rounds of the playoffs where I feel like certain teams might have actually kept some strategy that will not be shown throughout the first stage itself. And who knows, maybe that's where, when they run the gauntlet, is where we will be absolutely off the edge of our seats. So
Maybe.
Yeah, for the time being, of course, that we've concluded our first match. We'll get ourselves ready for our second game of the day. So for the time being, it's Contra and Dan Lee taking a break, and we'll see you guys in a couple of minutes. What's up, trainers? Welcome back once again. We have one more great Pokemon Unite series for you to witness here in the Asia Champions League, Southeast Asia. My name's Contra. Here with me is our beautiful Danalee, and we're definitely going to be thrilled about this matchup because we do have Secret Rare that's going to be going up against Renaissance.
It's a pretty scary matchup for this team as well. So unfortunately for Secret Rare, this team is currently at the bottom of the leaderboard. They are in 5th spot and they're going up against a formidable team in Renaissance. We've seen what Renaissance can do. I think some people are going to be expecting a 2-0 series from this series. I kind of feel like Secret Rare are going to be one of those rarities that could actually bring it to a 3rd game.
Yeah, and when we look into the stakes here, right? Like, Renaissance definitely won their proven track record of 2-0 to be kept the way it is. So I wonder if Secret Rare could actually pull through in this David versus Goliath kind of battle. And if they do, then what's going to happen? Who's getting the 3rd seed?
Exactly, because we currently have a very interesting situation on that leaderboard. So we have 2 teams currently stuck at 4 points apiece, Escape 5 and Rise. Now, Escape 5, they've completed all of their matches. They are essentially waiting to see if they will stay in that 3rd spot. But the remaining 2 teams down there, Escape 5, unfortunately, are not going to be able to determine Rise's fate. Rise have 1 more game to go. Secret Rare, I believe they've got 2 more to go. So they have 2 chances to get a victory. Now, assuming they win a game here, that's a big advantage to Secret Rare, because if they get 1 point from this series with Renaissance and they win the series for their final game, they will actually get the 3rd seed.
That's right, and like there is still ample of opportunities for them. So at
Too much
least
math.
start small. But of course, we don't really want to fully confuse you. So of course, we'll show you guys everything in pictures, of course. So you definitely have a look into the standings itself and who's going up against who.
Yeah, exactly. So here's the updated leaderboard for anyone that might be a little bit confused on what we're talking about, because these teams are playing for points. These points are going to be converted to their seeding for the next phase of the competition. So essentially, the team with the highest points will get the 1st seed, meaning they automatically qualify for the LAN final. Now, the rest of the teams, they will play more matches depending on how many points they have. So the team that scores the least amount of points here will have to play the most amount of games. And the same, unfortunately, happens to the team in 4th place, because they have to go up against each other first.
That's right. And now when we look into the standings, of course, Renaissance, if they secure 3 points, they will basically be tied with Team MYS. And so far, they had a clean 2-0 record, so it really boils down to that eventual battle head-to-head.
Yeah,
so
right.
Before that happens, I think like the most interesting part has been the talk of the 3rd position all the way to 5th, where there's so many possibilities.
The race is so close, and I think it would be absolutely bonkers if Secret Rare somehow win this series against Renaissance, and then we have a 3-way tie for 3rd place, because all the teams would be sitting on 4 points. The only X factor being that Escape 5 have played all their games, so they technically can't earn any more points.
Yeah, and I feel like it's an unfortunate situation for Escape 5, where I think by now, like, it's inevitable that they will have to start from the very first round of the gauntlet rounds of the 2nd stage. Meaning to say, it's just up down to Secret Rare as well as Rise, and this is what we're in for.
Yeah, I think out of all the regions, I guess Southeast Asia is probably sitting on the tightest leaderboard, if I do say so myself. Very, very competitive here so far. But of course, it will depend on the team's performances and if they can take those crucial games. Because, I mean, it might look close now, but for all we know, during that final week, we have some game-deciding series that might lock in these teams' positions for the next phase of the competition. But of course, let's jump into our final game of the day. It's going to be Renaissance going up against Secret Rare.
That's right. On Secret Rare, we have Shua, Miva, Dan, Heart1, as well as Junior Absent.
And on the side of Renaissance, we have Camiru, Ruvis, Ice, Solo, and Dev. Now, I know that we're all pretty fresh when it comes to Renaissance. We saw them playing last week. And this team, I think in every series that they've gone into so far, they've looked more or less crisp. I think the only one that was a little bit questionable was the Dragapult series. I think it was during the first week.
Which is why, like, they've already mentioned, yep, we're
Dragapult's
gonna shelve it for the time being.
Probably. Just put it in the collection, you know. It's a collectible Pokemon. But for Secret Rare, I feel like this is a bit of an X Factor team because we've seen some pretty interesting stuff from them so far.
And, like, for Renaissance as well, I mean, like, it's also out of the box, right? Like, is this also where they open up that box of surprise again against Secret Rare and, you know, like, just throw more curveballs in order to surprise Secret Rare?
Maybe.
But I feel like Secret Rare's play style, they've always been very team play heavy type of way of executions, so expect to see roughly the same.
Yeah, I mean, coordination-wise, I'd probably say Renaissance is going to be a step above Secret Rare because the players are just polished. But of course, let's take a look at some of the players and learn about the players competing on some of these teams. We're going to look at Junior Absent on the side of Secret Rare first. He loves playing Mew and Snorlax. He likes to try different sports like Muay Thai, wall climbing, and longboarding.
He's adventurous.
Very.
I'd like to meet him in person.
And his favorite Pokemon game is Mystery Dungeon Explorers of Time. No joke, I feel like the Mystery Dungeon series is probably one of the most fun Pokemon series I've ever played.
Well, I haven't tried it myself. Like, that got me really curious. Should I jump on board?
You should. It's available on the Switch, just in case. The Mystery Dungeon-esque sort of games. It's super fun. I'll show you after the stream. But yeah, I love the Mystery Dungeon series. Now, of course, let's take a look at our player on the side of Renaissance. We're going to look at Ruvis here. His dog's name is Eevee, and he's a Pokemon fan, but he doesn't actually like MOBAs too much.
Huh, that's actually pretty interesting. Like, I guess, like, there is something for everyone. I wonder, like, you know, like, has Pokemon Unite in a way got him grown more into this form of genre? Though some people may argue it's not really a MOBA per se, but like,
yeah, it's different.
Which is why Pokemon Unite is so special.
Exactly, it's definitely one of the most unique MOBA-esque games out there on the market. But I'm not surprised that he loves playing Sylveon, you know? You gotta have like one of the evolutions as your favorite Pokemon to play. But I'm surprised to see Pikachu here because I know that a lot of players, when they start the game, Pikachu is one of the defaults that you kind of get. It's rather easy to play, but when it comes to high-level gameplay, Pikachu is actually quite difficult to play.
Yeah,
it's a funny Pokemon, right? It's like, it's easy when you start, but it's hard once you get up there.
Yeah, because like there's so many more new Pokemons to be introduced, and then there's a lot more layers of complexity once you do meet better opponents along the way.
It's also positioning, I feel. Like Pikachu, it's one of those Pokemon where if you're able to have a flawless game, you are incredibly high impact, but your health pool is so small and you don't really have an escape mechanism, so it's very easy to punish. But aside the Pokemon talk, let's take a look at the score lines for the teams competing in this final best of 3. Of course, we see Renaissance on the screen. They're sitting in second place with 6 points so far, hot on the heels of their competitors. Oh my goodness. I think NYS are very worried going into this match. I'm very sure that they're going to be watching this. They're hoping, if you're NYS, you are praying that Secret Rare win this.
Yeah, like if that actually is the case, that will basically secure NYS in the top position, perhaps, unless on the battle between Renaissance as well as Team NYS, Renaissance gets a 2-0.
Maybe.
Then what happens then?
Yeah, some crazy business, if anything. All right, so that's going to be the quick snapshot of Renaissance. I mean, this series, I think it's going to be rather exciting. It's our final game of the day. Let's take a look at Secret Rare's stats so we get a better picture on how they have been performing so far in the tournament. Now, they didn't play during week 3, but of course, they still have 2 more series to go. They managed to pull off a 2-1 series against MYS. Unfortunately, they didn't win, but they did pull it to a 3-game series. Day 2, though, week 2, they actually got 2-0'd by Escape 5.
And this is where they got themselves into the predicament where they need to find their way back up. And of course, there's only 2 more chances, one being now against Renaissance, and also the final game of theirs being the ones that they will be facing off against the Indonesia Open champions Team Rise. So I guess like at least there is a couple of opportunities for them to really prove themselves to be able to get, you know, a smoother cruise in the second stages of the tournament.
Yeah, I suppose. Now, there are a couple X factors I kind of feel like Secret Rare could make a climb. First thing they have to do is pull out a Game 3 against Renaissance to pick up that 1 point, and then they need to either beat Rise to guarantee top 3, because I think this pushes them to 5 points. Otherwise, let's say they lose this set, but they 2-0 Rise in their final week, then we have a 3-way tie for third place. So it'll be pretty intense.
Yeah, and I guess like we'll eventually get into the resolution of if in the case that happens, of course. So now when we go back
2 weeks from now, it's fine.
2 weeks from now, yeah, well, I'm a little time. Like we get to think about it. Like when we look into both sides of the coin, of course, Renaissance. I don't think that there were many weaknesses that other teams could actually exploit by now, because they have been very creative with that draft. They've always been able to explore even other types of Pokemon than the usual ones that are currently in the meta. So I felt like this team is so robust. Meanwhile, as far as Secret Rare, this is kind of like all or nothing right now. They will have to play very flawlessly. They will have to stick to what has been proven to work out. So perhaps if Renaissance were too ambitious on their exploration phase, then maybe that one game may slip away.
Yeah, I mean, if I was Renaissance, I think I'd want to play with my best draft and my best foot forward here, because you really want to make sure that you get those 3 points so that you tie with MYS for that top spot. Because again, that best of 3 in week 5 is going to be the determining factor on who actually makes it to first seed from MYS and Renaissance. Now, here's the thing. I think for Secret Rare to possibly take this series, I think a lot of it is going to boil down to drafting and that Rayquaza fight. I feel like for some of the teams, especially the ones that are going up against Renaissance, Rayquaza is a defining factor for some of these teams, because firstly, Rayquaza is a big win condition. You get the Rayquaza, you get the shield, which gives you that scoring speed bonus and attack bonus. We've seen so many teams make a comeback from getting that Rayquaza because they had the attack bonus that actually helped them get those crucial knockouts so that they could score freely. But we've seen Renaissance be so good at camping the Rayquaza pit that it's almost impossible to even get it.
Yeah, but then you have to also reflect back into the matches that they did get 1 game off of Team MYS, and it's arguable that they are of the same caliber as compared to Renaissance, of course. So if they could have done it in the past, I'm saying that 1 point at the very least is very, very possible.
It might be like the one team that can take a game off of Renaissance for now, but we will have to see as we jump into our first game of this best of 3 series between Renaissance and Secret Rare. There's a lot on the line for these teams. If somehow Secret Rare can win this series, this is going to be a big push to pushing them up that leaderboard. As for Renaissance, they just want to get these 3 points to tie with MYS. I don't even think they care if it's a 2-1 score. They just want to win.
That's right. And of course, with them now deciding on the bans, we'll quickly have a look at what's being removed from play. It will be Caesar on the side of Renaissance and Secret Rare opt to take out the Urshifu. So no more pesky high mobility all-rounders in that sense. And Camera is going to open up this draft. Like, I'm ready to be surprised. I mean,
hey, Sableye,
what's the flavor of the day?
Sableye, Mew. These 2 Pokemon are available, but it's Blissey. I mean,
we do see the Mew on Secret Rare.
Yeah, Secret Rare get the Mew. I'm not surprised that Renaissance pick up the Blissey. This is such a highly contested Pokemon right now. I think it is the most highly contested supporter, and I think still up until now, Snorlax is probably still the most highly contested defender, but I'm wondering, like, does Renaissance even go for Snorlax? Because sometimes I feel like they don't need it. They can go for something else. We've seen them actually go front on with Mr. Mime, and heck, even Blissey can be a tank. So we're seeing this double supporter strat coming out yet again for Renaissance.
Yeah, and I feel like this gives so much safety net to the Delphox, which Dev has been very proficient on for most part. So
is that a Crustle? I was gonna say.
It's been such a long time since we've seen the Crustle, and instead they're going in for the Aegislash and Mamoswine.
Double Defender. So we've seen Double Defender a couple times. I think it may have been Secret Rare during the first week. I'm not 100% sure. But it's an interesting pairing. Now, one thing I'm not a big fan of is that you're going Double Defender, but here's the downside to Mamoswine. This Pokemon, although he's a defender, he's a very aggressive defender that wants to get into the middle of a fight. He doesn't really have a way to self-sustain outside of a potion. Now, we don't know if Miva is actually going to play the Mamoswine here, but it's almost like you pick Mamoswine and Slowbro together, you're basically saying, like, we are going to win these fights. And of course, you last pick that Greninja, you've got no healing support. You're relying on these two frontline defenders.
It's all in or nothing for Secret Rare. That's going to be
it's Potion.
That
I was going to say, like, if it
style.
wasn't Potion, I was going to have a small panic attack.
But we're also looking for the fact that Team Renaissance will definitely need to skill into the battle, because you have the Serena as well as Gardevoir being quite needy, and then you add Delphox to the picture. So they really need these supports to ensure that they are always safe at all times. So with that, I think like this is going to be very interesting. Does Secret Rare have a chance to punish them?
Maybe. I mean, it really comes down to whether or not they can dive the back lines for Secret Rare. And they have Aegislash. I think this is one of the best Pokemon to try and dive the back lines. But again, the hits have to connect. And you've got Slowbro and Mamoswine to cause havoc in the front line. So maybe this really tank-heavy strat's just going to work for Secret Rare. But we are going to jump into this game. Shua is going to be in the central area on that Greninja. And then on the side of Renaissance, they actually have Cameru here on the Gardevoir. So it's going to be a lot of firepower coming out real soon here for Renaissance.
That's right, and a little bit of tussle is going on over the bomb end already, it seems. So for the time being, of course, top side is going to be pretty much relaxed in the sense where, you know, there's ample space for them to slowly farm the EXP bars up.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, like, we're already seeing Eyes hoping to at least get a little bit more wiggle room, while both of them are just slowly contesting, but here goes Hard.
Up top, they actually managed to get a KO there. So Secret Rare getting the first knockout of the game, and Absent trying to go for the dive there onto this arena. He will get a score in, but he is going to get punished, but at least he got those points in before he got knocked out.
Yeah, great aggression being displayed by Secret Rare, and I think like they need as much as they can get for the time being, while these Pokemon from Renaissance still need to scale slowly and surely. So this is already a good telltale sound for Secret Rare.
Yeah, so we are getting the evolution here for Heart. Now, Aegislash, if he can evolve at a peak timing, that might just be the opening for Secret Rare to just amp up the aggression, right? You've got this lineup that wants to jump right into the enemy team. You have to capitalize it while Pokemon are still leveling up on the side of Renaissance. And Gardevoir does need a number of levels to actually be useful. She's almost hit that level 8 though, so we might be seeing some action from Cameru real soon. He's still very passive because, again, this is a Pokemon that doesn't really want to fight until level 8.
That's true, and we're seeing retaliation coming in as they're aiming to take this Blissey out of the equation, but there is ample of space for them to run back into the go zone, get some heals from the berries, and we're going to see how much can Miva actually contribute later on. Junior Absent now being caught up, and that's going to be the first pick off for Renaissance, as the Serena will secure the knockout.
Yeah, and Shuel wasn't really able to contribute because he was very low coming in from that central area. So unfortunate for Secret Rare to give that knockout away to Renaissance.
Yeah.
You really want to snowball if you can, but if you're going to give these knockouts away, I think you sometimes have to be a little bit calculative with some of the moves. And unfortunately, your Mamoswine is still level 4, which sometimes it's not bad because you do like to get that freeze proc. at some point you're going to have to get this Pokemon evolved, otherwise he might be sandbagging really until he evolves.
But I guess as long as you soak some of all these heavy damage, it will give them a little bit more room, especially in those team fights. But look at Dan though, I mean, like, he's evolving to Surf, and there we go.
Aegis Slash! Yeah, this is the thing they have to worry about, right? Heart is going to be such a big threat, but Cameroon's here, who's fully evolved, and look at that, they immediately knock out the Slowbro, so already one of the defenders go down, and a beautiful Unite coming in from Cameroon, that Gardevoir already paying in dividends, and they almost get rid of Shua as well, the Greninja having to dash away. This is a fight that if you're Secret Red, you are supposed to win this fight. You need to win to get those levels and to snowball, especially with this double defender lineup, because ultimately the sustain is going to favor Renaissance. They can outlast Secret Rare in these battles.
That's right, and they've already squeezed in quite a hefty amount in this early rounds with 70 pointers here. Sure, it may not seem too significant for the time being, but we know that Secret Renaissance does have a slower approach into getting those evolutions, and now that they are fully evolved, they are ready to take on those battles. So Secret Rare will start to struggle, and Solo's already gotten the first goal zone down.
Yeah, and it looks like we're going to try and break this bottom goal zone. Really nice cancel there onto Shua. They are scoring points, but 40 points on this Greninja. He's very hesitant to score, but they will get the pushback though. No, he's going to cancel the score instead. He's going to try and get rid of that Eldegoss. Not enough damage. He's going to try and score again, but instead his teammate will get it 5 points from the Piloswine. They wanted to guarantee that break. So we've got a group up here from Secret Rare. Is it time for them to just go push? In the meantime, though, they did lose the Regieleki up top, so they are rotating 3 Pokemon to make sure that this is defended. But if they get Dev, they found him in the bush. Ooh.
Great surf
into
it.
Oh my goodness.
And that's great intuition as well to also respond with the Queen's Ascendant just catching out that A slash, and this is where they're just throwing everything into the kitchen sink if they have one. While Viva is slowly dropping low, and eventually more knockouts will happen. But bottom side, Renaissance will see the window of opportunity to start scoring, but during the absence, it's just being a little bit of a nuisance for them, and that has arrived at the scene.
Oh no, the Piloswine, he gets knocked out at the last second, but it doesn't really matter. It seems like Secret Rare not going to have an easy time to try and battle in that bottom lane. And while all that's happening, look up top, you've got a Delphox free farming, getting all those levels. Cameroon just going to get bigger and bigger. And Secret Rare, they don't really have anyone farming yet. They will rotate Shua up there. So it's going to be all down to Heart and Dan to either get the steal or to buy time. They will try and use the Bliss assistance on the side of Renaissance. And I think this might just be enough. It's going to be Renaissance to get the buff there. And now Secret Rare are going to have to make a getaway.
Yeah, and now Renaissance turn to shine as they will crash open the gates, and they will dunk in 31 pointers to add up to their total of 253 tally, and they're just slowly preparing for some of all these moves to catch out Shua, but he will be able to just go back to base and quickly get back into position. Yeah. So now there will be a little bit more of that jostle of control to get this Regieleki, and Renaissance, they're already having a little bit more of a head start.
Yeah, the game's not over as of yet. I kind of feel like there is absolutely an opening for Secret Rare to make some magic happen, and it might just have to be at this Regieleki. Every single Unite move is available on the field, but it's going to be a little bit too late. Renaissance get the Regieleki, and Heart, he did try and go for the dive there, but look at this Queen Ascendant on the Greninja. Insta-K. I mean, there's just 2 Pokemon left on Secret Rare. You kind of just have to back up at that point.
Yeah, and now they get to escort the Regieleki as well. What can Heart do to hold him back? There's still going to be Dan to be in the picture still, so Solo will just back away. They know that, okay, that's all that they really have to do. There's no point of overextending as well, because 1 more minute, this is the fight that we'll be looking forward to. Secret Rare actually did hold up well for the past 7 minutes, so it's all boiling down to that final team fight.
Yeah, it really is going to come down to this Rayquaza. Now, if you're Renaissance, I don't think you're in the clear as of yet, because if you get caught out by some of these big disables on Secret Rare, I think that's going to be what might potentially lose you that Rayquaza fight, right? So you need to be aware of where the Slowbro is, who he's going to use the Slow Beam on. Make sure that you're not going to be caught by the Mammoth Mash on that Mamoswine, because those are big disables that can really catch some of the squishies off guard.
That's right, they were already on the Regiice, and I guess like with all these extra buffs that has been going into the hands of Renaissance, at least they're very well equipped into going to those battles despite anything
it's
that
2
they could
seconds.
basically throw at them. They spot out Dan, and he's
got the
got to get
grab.
out of there.
They're going to go right onto the Eldegoss. He will use the slow beam, and it's going to be a trade. Slow bro for the Eldegoss, but look at that Unite. It just catches everyone on Secret Rare. 3 Pokemon down, and now they're going to have to back all the way back up. But they've actually got the Crit Ninja, so now it's the Mew, but Miva went in.
They're all cleared out. It's free access. Renaissance has done it again, and they're here to secure game 1. And how much more time could they actually have of the essence? They can't even get near the Rayquaza pit.
Oh, no.
And the slow bro has always been too slow.
Oh my goodness. And he just gets deleted. I'm so not used to seeing this Pokemon get obliterated. But it really came down to the scouting on the side of Renaissance, being able to spot out the slow bro. They immediately jumped him, and he was forced to go for that slow beam because I think he knew, like, hey, they saw me already. I've got to just slow beam whoever I can get. Sure, it's the Eldegoss, but the Eldegoss isn't really your primary target when you're going to go for that slow bro Unite. But Secret Rare, 56 seconds to go. I mean, the game isn't quite over yet. They may be able to make a comeback happen. But can they get the appropriate catches? I mean, it's just a slow bro down here. Mew is there. They're going to try and turn on to Dev. Now, remember, this is a pretty squishy Pokemon, but it's now a solo Mew, and he used the fanciful fireworks. It's pretty big, but I mean, 84 points being dunked in by the side of Renaissance as well, offsetting the 70-point dunk from Shua.
Yeah, they just absolutely get it denied, and now with the Aegistats doing whatever is necessary,
no.
even got caught out halfway through it. So this is where they will try to go in for an exchange, and Hard can only last for so long on this Aegislash.
Man, it's just, it really came down to that one scout on the side of Renaissance. I wonder if it would have been different if both teams didn't have much vision on each other. You know, who would be the one to make that first move? I'd assume Secret Rare would be the ones to want to dive into Renaissance, but just... It just proves how important it is to have vision and to be spotted like that, especially with the slow bro so aggressively positioned.
Indeed, and when we take a look at that instance of the battle that they had by the Rayquaza pit, like, Dan, he immediately used the move just to lock them down, and it needed some seconds for Secret Rare to quickly jump on board, and even when they do, like, was the trade actually worth it? Sure, they got the Eldegoss, but you gotta remember, there's so much power coming from the God of War and the Delphox.
It's moments like this when, like, if you had a different Pokemon, let's say you didn't have Mamoswine and you had someone that had a big Unite that could catch Pokemon. I think a good example for this would be, assuming they pick Blastoise, Hydro Typhoon would have been a really great Unite to catch everyone on the side of Renaissance. Big throw up, and it would set up for Miva and Shua to do the damage. If they even had a Gardevoir themselves, right? Throw the Gardevoir Unite on top of Dan. That would have caught so many Pokemon on Renaissance. But just because Renaissance knew there was no big Unite like that to worry about, they were more than happy to hound Dan.
That's right, and of course, this is just the result of the very first game. There's still one more opportunity for Secret Rare in the upcoming battle. So I'm looking at these Pokemons that they've selected. I would say that not necessarily it was the easiest for them to execute their plan, especially when you have a high skill cap Pokemon like a Mew, where you always need to know exactly what you're favoring in terms of the abilities that you're using in every battle.
Yeah, I feel I could understand what Secret Rare wanted to do with this double defender strat. But I kind of just didn't feel the impact of the Mamoswine at all. The whole point of Mamoswine is that you run into the opposing team and you just get those back-to-back freezes. Like, that's one of the reasons why you pick up this Pokemon. But he just couldn't do it. Yeah, there was too much mobility, too many dashes, too many ways for Renaissance to juke him, and so it kind of limited what Mamoswine could have done in this game. And it wasn't like the Mamoswine was picked first. It was towards the middle of the draft.
Yeah, and I think like the lack of sustainability in those team fights have also hurt them for a little bit as compared to what Renaissance have on the table, where so long as you do get those picks done, like, great. but you need to basically close out the fight instantly. But Renaissance can always come back again and just layer through your health bars each respective time that they do commit to those battles. And I felt like Renaissance kind of walked away with too many of all these objectives in the early game as well, where they scaled up perfectly getting into late battles.
I mean, they got everything that they needed. I don't think Renaissance really felt that intimidated by Secret Rare. I mean, we saw Hart try to go for the catch, but Renaissance's positioning just never allowed Aegislash to get on top of the Delphox, to get on top of Cameroon. Like, the ranged attackers were just fully protected. I think this is the one game where I would have been like, I kind of feel like you should have swapped out the Mamoswine for a Greedent.
Yeah, like, I think it could have been a really great defender option by now. Like, I know we're not over that Pokemon because of what happened last week.
Yeah, exactly.
But I guess, like, other than Greedent, like, even if they want to amp up the firepower and pick some other Pokemon or take another all-rounder if they're willing to, then there are things that they can consider. But we saw the bans. I mean, there was the lack of a Scyther. There was no Urshifu for them to go along with. So, yeah, they were squeezed.
Mr. Mime was available if they wanted a supporter, and it also provides healing if they go for Power Swap. I think my biggest gripe with the lineup was that they tried to go for the literal brute force, get in your face lineup, but they could just never get in Renaissance's face.
Yeah, and I hope that they could try it once again, because we're about to get into another draft very soon. So let's take a look. What's going to be the changes necessary for Secret Rare to push this into Game 3?
Secret Rare, if there's a time to pull out your final gambit, that one Pokemon that might just help you go into game number 3, you have to do it now. And it would be massive for them to take a game in this series, because now all of a sudden it would mean they would have a chance at getting that 3rd spot if they could win their series in the coming week. This is such a game-defining series for Secret Rare.
They really have to take this opportunity, especially now with Sableye left available. If Renaissance doesn't pick it, I see it being...
They don't need to. I don't feel like... Yeah, I don't feel like they need to pick up the Sableye, because it's like, yeah, it's there, but it's not really a Pokemon that you need. It's annoying. I think that's why people ban it, because it's just so annoying to play against. But Renaissance are just like, we don't need gimmicks.
Yeah, but they say, you know what? This is not a gimmick. Like, they hovered in and it's like, okay, let's go for the safe option, and we will just have the most solid defender. And you talk about the Blastoise, they will give it to you. And even with the Hoopa.
And the Hoopa as well. I'm not 100% sure. We will have to check out the stats for this, if this is going to be the 1st or 2nd Hoopa. I kind of feel like we've seen it, but then I'm not sure if maybe I was watching another stream or something. But I am glad to see Hoopa. This is a much forgotten support. I think it's probably the least picked support up until this point. And then Blastoise is probably even the least picked defender. Oh no, Crustle would be another. Yeah, I think Crustle and Blastoise are in the same category now.
I feel like Renaissance is going on full experiment mode right now.
Why not?
They're also hovering Pikachu.
What? Is it Cameru? I don't think it's Cameru Pikachu.
Come on.
No.
Let's get it. Yes.
I don't think it's Cameru Pikachu. I think it'll be like support Pikachu. So Cameru's probably going to be playing on that Scyther. Unless he goes Blastoise, I'd be pretty happy to see Central Area Blastoise.
I feel like Cameroon has so many ways of playing that we've seen many different playstyles from him. I wouldn't be surprised even if he chooses to lock in this Pikachu for himself.
It looks like it is for himself here. They're not changing. No one's swapping their Pokemon.
And you think about it, I mean, like, they have the speedsters here to really move around the map, especially with the help of this Hoopa to basically bring them from one portal to another. So,
oh my goodness.
I wonder, can this Dodrio now match up to the presence that Team Renaissance will have in this match?
It's a big ask. But I feel like if there's a Pokemon that you're going to surprise with, it's probably the Dodrio. As common as he is, the playstyle for Dodrio is so... kind of feel like this Pokemon's a bit cheesy, you know, with what it can do. How it can backcap, how it can quickly make it to fights, and how much damage it can do as well, you know. It chases those squishies, especially if you're a Pikachu. Dodrio is a nightmare.
Yeah, exactly. And when we look at Secret Rare's game plan here, it's pretty straightforward. The reason why they have this Venusaur here is so that they could just survive with all these Petal Dance and also to have the Blissey on board. So when it comes down to team fight, you want them to hold as long as possible and you draw the attention until this Dodrio finds the room into scoring more and more of these points.
Yeah.
Renaissance though, this is going to be some tough execution, I would say, when it comes down to team fight.
Yeah, I think it really is like just difficult execution. Although I do want to point out, like, I love how Renaissance has been prioritizing experience this season. I think it's very common for us to see the central area player typically hoard all of the experience, including the buffs, but Renaissance tend to share it, right? So they know that Cameru, yes, he's playing a very early game Pokemon, but to give those extra experience to Scyther, it can really make him a tough foe in that lane. So I love how they're sort of like juggling the buffs and sharing all that experience around. Unfortunate that they weren't able to get a KO down here. Neither team really able to catch anybody, it seems.
Yeah, and overall, I mean, like, Secret Rare, at least they got some early points out of that Dodrio. Sure, 2-point lead. It will eventually amount to something. But Def, though, playing with fire, diving too deep, and this will be the first knockout secured by the Squirtle.
Yeah, and actually there was another knockout in that bottom lane. We saw the Blissey actually being taken down as a Chansey, so didn't even manage to get that level 4, gets knocked out. And look at this, easy points for Renaissance.
Wow, just more and more of this mounting to so much, and Secret Rare, they're slowly losing a little bit more of that control over on the bottom lane. But top side is rather interesting because you start to see that Dodrio pathing his way into some enemy territories as well, of course needing to still find those EXP. I'm thinking that there's some opportunity that they could also find punishment in the form of this Hoopa as well. So yeah, Ruvis got to be careful of his position.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of potential to really make some fancy plays happen here with the Hooper. Unfortunately, dead on this Snorlax is just going to be easily taken down by Solo, and they're even going to reset him as well. Easy heals. Bulbasaur still level 4. Being chased, won't be taken out, but this is a pretty dire situation to be in as a Bulbasaur, especially at the 7 minutes and 30-second mark. You should have been an Ivysaur by now.
Yeah.
The pressure from Renaissance is really building up.
And there's not much left to farm up as well if you're looking into giving him a little bit more of that EXP into the central area. And now look at that pressure onto hard.
It's the spin to win Blastoise build. I love this build. It's Water Spout with, I think, Rapid Spin. Now, one of the biggest things about this build for Blastoise is that, especially if he's able to snowball, which is what's kind of happening right now, 7-minute mark, you're level 8. Blastoise is actually a rather formidable damage dealer if he's left unchecked. And unfortunately for the side of Secret Rare, they don't really have a great way at controlling a spin to win Blastoise.
And now that you mentioned it, that actually puts Renaissance in quite a favorable position when they commit to that team fight, because you look at their whole composition, everything screams damage. I mean, put Hoopa aside, it's still something. I mean, like, they can come from all angles if they want.
Well, Hoopa's damage as well, right? Like, he unites and all of a sudden he's turned into a damage dealer as well.
Well, he's unbound.
Oh my goodness, sure. Almost being taken out there by Solo, but they're going to try and turn around on the Lucario. Very ballsy, but no full commitment. But in the meantime, though, Regieleki being picked up here by Renaissance, but Secret Rare looking to make this turnaround happen. But look at them, though. Defensive position, and look at this beautiful Hydro Typhoon set up by Ice. And they just chase all the Pokemon down. So much damage on the side of Renaissance. It's just an Ivysaur. There's only so much you can do. Gets eliminated as well. And it looks like Dodrio are going to come in from the backlines. But look at this! Deleted as well!
Again, they're just going in for this spin to win methodology. And Ice, he's feeling ice cold in his veins. And they quickly going for a reset. All thanks to that Hoopa. And they're just going to rinse and repeat once more. Renaissance is already 260 points above Secret Rare.
Oh my goodness, I just looking at what Renaissance have, especially when you're running such a
This
high...
is so scary.
This is a terrifying lineup to go up against, especially when you've got a Blastoise who is online and ready to go. He's level 10, almost at that 5-minute mark, probably going to hit 11 very soon. And you really just don't have a great way at controlling Blastoise. Like, one of the main reasons why Blastoise is generally unfavorable is that this is a very late game evolving Pokemon. One of the biggest things about him is you want to try and get that Hydro Typhoon. If you can get it at a good timing, that's such a threatening Unite move.
That's right, and they're slowly preparing for the next Reggie to appear. While they're doing so, they have already withered down some HP bars. But Hard has got to stay alive, though. He can't afford to fall once again because this is the battle that they need to win. And how fast can they actually go for a reset? Dev is already diving in.
Oh my goodness. They're diving in completely uncontested. The Ring's Unbound, unfortunately, going to run out on Rufus, but who really cares? They won the fight. Now they're just going to take this Regirock for free. Secret Rare just having to sacrifice objective after objective. They just can't get these fights to go their way.
Not at all. Like, at this point in time, like, all they have to do is just to stop the bleeding. Secret Rare just have to defend, but when you have that Blastoise around, you can't stand a chance.
No, you just don't feel safe, right? Because now all of a sudden you're thinking like, okay, is there a chance that I'm just going to get Hydro Typhooned? Right? It's such a big and game-changing Unite move, especially when it comes to that Rayquaza pit fight later. Hydro Typhoon, probably one of the biggest Unite moves that can win you the Rayquaza fight. And you can even use it to try and last hit for Rayquaza. Like, it's such a big AoE. Only ranged attackers can really safely snipe away from a Blastoise.
It really feels bad to be the Snorlax right now. I mean,
look at this.
having a little bit of overextension, and they're still trying to commit. This Delphox really wants to get their hands on the Lucky, and he does steal it though.
Oh goodness. They do get the steal, and that was a solo Hydro Typhoon. Now Ice, he won't be able to get the KO on Dodrio, but he will keep his life, it seems. I mean, even if you've got the Regieleki on Secret Rare...
They just stop it immediately.
I mean, Aleki doesn't give you experience, it doesn't give you a buff, and I just don't see them being able to get it onto the goal zone. I mean, the best they can do was deny it from Renaissance, but this is still such an uphill battle for the Filipinos.
Indeed, there's only one more minute for them to contest that Rayquaza at this point. I mean, just look at the differentials in levels. Like, an average, they're 2 levels down, and Solo... Well, he's playing with fire, and eventually he might just be punished while chasing in, and he will get the knockout.
Yeah, so pretty big knockout there. Any knockout is some much-needed experience on Secret Rare, but we've got 40 seconds left to go Contra before we go into that final 2-minute mark, and we make the descent for Rayquaza. Honestly, looking at this game, it might really just come down to that late game. Can Secret Rare win that Rayquaza fight?
That will definitely be the case where or not can Secret Rare just steal it right under the noses of Renaissance, especially with Renaissance not really having that pressure because they are more than 200 over points ahead. So Secret Rare, they have to make that first move. They also don't have the damage to peel through the health bars of Rayquaza.
Yeah, and you know what's pretty insane as well? The fact that Hooper effectively counters the playstyle for Dodrio. Because you're able to just throw the portal down, you can switch between your 2 goal zones, especially when they're up. So it really makes it difficult for Dodrio to feel comfortable to try and go for those back caps. Look at this Hydro Typhoon, catches out too. Snorlax goes down right away, and they do manage to keep the Blissey up for a little bit longer, but doesn't really matter. The support, the defense, it is gone. Now it's time for this offense to drop one by one on Secret Rare. It's a full-on team wipe, and it seems like Rayquaza is going to go into the hands of Renaissance.
There's still a slight chance here. Can the Snorlax make it in
no
time?
way they
Apparently
make it.
not,
No.
as they dive right in. But there's just many of these Renaissance members that are ready to dump. Rufus have arrived, and he is unbound, unchained, and will unleash the fury upon Secret Rare.
Yep, look at this poor little supporter. He's pulling out the rings. He's saying, "Fight me, brother!" But seriously though, Renaissance just clean, crisp gameplay. They did not give Secret Rare any goal zones. Yeah, I mean, they scored 40 points, but it just goes to show how perfectly they played. And I feel like they line up this game They played it great. They made sure that Ice was able to evolve at a reasonable timing. Cameru didn't give away needless KOs, which meant EXP was denied to Secret Rare. It just goes to show that mid lane Pikachu,
Still
especially,
works.
it can work. I wouldn't say it reliably works. Definitely a niche pick, but it's threatening if it doesn't get punished.
That's right, and now only 18 seconds on the clock while they're still pressing on to the final zone. And anybody that steps out of the base, they're having so much to deal with.
Flawless.
And the Kings of the 2-0 sweep will only have one more challenge up ahead. But for now, they celebrate yet another beautiful success.
And at the same time, Renaissance are now going to tie themselves with MYS. I'm looking forward to this matchup. Both teams 9 points apiece, but also at the same time, Secret Rare are now in a very tight spot. They need to win their final game of the tournament to stay in the running for that third spot. Otherwise, they're going to have to fight the gauntlet from point 1.
That's right, and now, with that being said, of course, let's go back into this entire draft where Renaissance basically are going down the list of whatever Pokemons that were not really picked overall in the ACL.
We
So
have to check. I actually don't know if there are any Pokemon left.
that's a really good question. Okay, so
Wait,
we've got
I think we
Buzzwole.
have we seen Zeraora? I don't think we have.
I don't think so.
It's
a really good question,
We'll have to
honestly.
check off stream. I'm not 100% sure on this, but I
Are
think
you going to make a request for Renaissance to play it next week or something?
I don't need to make a request. I think it's just interesting information to have, right?
True.
To see like what Pokemon are getting picked, which ones are sort of getting ignored, because I think there is definitely a trend towards certain archetypes of Pokemon. So, who
I believe
knows?
so too. And like when we look into Secret Rare's draft overall, I mean, I don't think that the concept of what you want to bring to the table has run too far, where they really want to bank in on Shua. But you mentioned it very well when you brought up about the Hoopa being able to just transport you from one realm to the other to just deny Dodgers' chances of just rolling in from the back to score those points.
To
And
score.
I think that itself was quite problematic for Secret Rare to find those golden opportunities.
Yeah, I think that's probably one of the reasons why Dodrio has just risen in popularity as well. Just the fact that he's able to backcap, and also the fact that Hoopa is more or less non-existent in the current meta. Now, I don't think this is to say that Hoopa is bad, but I think we did have a discussion with Cameru at some point, and I did hear him say that Hoopa is absolutely a niche pick. It's not a Pokemon that's probably going to appear in every match, but there are absolutely circumstances where it's going to be useful. And against a Dodrio, that's probably one of the best cases of wanting to pick up that Hoopa.
Yeah, and this whole draft coming in from Renaissance gives us a little bit of that throwback of, you know,
Right.
how early days patches have worked really well. And I think like this itself is quite the proven formula, especially now with them showing off how you can basically play around this Blastoise.
Yeah, I don't think this is going to make Blastoise super popular because I still think like the activation of the Pokemon is still very difficult. You're not going to get every game where Blastoise is able to fully evolve because he evolves at 9 fully, and he also gets his Unite move at 9. So he's a very, very late game oriented Pokemon. But the fact that Renaissance was able to just get those early KOs, to get those early scores, and of course the objectives pushing him closer towards that level 9 evolution, Ice turned into a real big threat.
That's right. Like, I felt like Renaissance was just oozing with confidence in terms of the performance and the trust amongst the teammates as well on how they really want to execute this draft. And like, to go all in with this really, really daring play style, like, not everybody actually has the guts to do that.
No, I don't. Well, especially in a competition like this where there's so much on the line, you kind of don't go for these gutsy playstyles unless you have some kind of insurance to be like, okay, if it messes up now, we've still got another chance to either win the series or to guarantee our placement for stage number 2. And I mean, Renaissance are really confident at this point. Like, nobody has taken a game off of this team. I don't think anyone's really look like they're even close to doing it either. It's been stomp after stomp after stomp with Renaissance.
The question is, can they stomp MYS though?
Maybe. I think we've got the updated scoreboard as well, and we've got MYS and Renaissance tied for first place.
Wow.
Both teams 9 points apiece, and it's going to come down to the head-to-head matchup. And this matchup is going to be so intense. It's the final matchup for the Southeast Asian League. I'm so excited.
Me too, Dan and Lee. I mean, when we look into this table, there's so many stories to tell. Sure, both of these teams, MYS as well as Renaissance, tied for first place. But at the third spot all the way to fifth, I mean, everybody's fighting for the chance to at least get a bye round on that third seat placement. So Rise is the current team that's currently holding on to that. The only other team to challenge right now is Escape. Secret Rare. Because Escape 5 have already played all the matches. They'll be sitting out, and they're just hoping somehow a tiebreaker rule will come into effect if, in the case, you know, Secret Rare comes in.
Yeah, so at the moment, we're not 100% sure on the tiebreaker rules. I think we will bring this back up in the final week of play. But, of course, the objective here for Secret Rare, if they can 2-0 Rise in these two teams' final matchup, it will be a three-way tie for third place. Now, the reason why third place is important here, or at least the third seed, is that the team playing third seed plays one less best of three during the second phase of the tournament.
That's right. And, you know, just looking back, I mean, there's so much raw talent coming in from every different region, and I felt like the team with the best understanding of how each respective Pokemon and how it can complement one another in every composition will have that formula lead. And I think evidently, for at least for the time being, it's Renaissance as well as Team MYS that has been able to fully understand what has worked best so far.
Yeah, I mean, the two teams, just looking at how they play, you can tell that there's a layer of experience. They just play at another level compared to some of the other teams in the competition, right?
Meanwhile, like other teams as well, I think they have been adapting and learning very, very quickly at the same time.
Yeah. All right, it looks like we have an interview lined up. So, of course, let's hear it from our winners. I think it's Death here. How are you doing? Welcome to the stream.
Hello.
Hi. Of course, it has been another great victory for you and the rest of Renaissance. And so far, the record has been 2-0. I want to ask you, how confident are you guys to basically end the entire run to secure first spot in an undefeated streak?
We are quite confident.
That's good to hear.
It's good to hear. Dev, I'm not sure if it was your idea to draft the Blastoise, but what was the thought process for Renaissance when Blastoise came up? Because this is a Pokemon that has rarely appeared in the Asia Champions League. We're actually not sure if it's even appeared in Southeast Asia so far.
I think Blastoise is a good pick because it's a tank and it can do a lot of damage while having those immunity from CC. Plus we got Hoopa on our team, and those two works together like very good.
So it's a combination.
Yeah, and of course we also did see that the Pikachu was also bring forward on the table, which we have not seen for such a long time, and it definitely was a joy to that. So is that all the surprises that we've already gotten? What else is there? Minus share?
Hey, okay, no.
Okay,
that's going into
I'll keep
strats.
that. I'll keep that.
I want to ask Dev, what was the idea behind Cameru's Pikachu? Because I think a lot of people, when they see Pikachu, it's normally played in some kind of semi-support role. Is Pikachu mid actually viable?
I think the best lane for Pikachu now is mid lane.
Really?
Because it's almost the same like Delphox. It has a low cooldown in his Unite timing, and it can carry the early game pretty well with the level 4.
Yeah, so it's a level 4 timing.
Yeah.
Wow. Great insight as well. I think like anyone looking forward to carry Pikachu, well, I guess like this is possibly the best time.
It might be, maybe, who knows? Maybe Renaissance sets the meta for for the pubs as well. You know, going to start seeing some more of those bit Pikachus in Southeast Asia. So you do have one more matchup going up against MYS. I think we already asked Kamaru about this previously, but I kind of want to hear your thoughts, Dev. When it comes to MYS, what do you feel is going to be something that fans need to watch out for when you guys go up against MYS in that best of 3?
Something, sorry, what?
What do you feel like are the strongest features of MYS so far after seeing them play?
Every one of them is strong. I totally respect them all. And yeah, that's it. They are unexpectable.
Oh, they're unpredictable. Okay.
Yeah, unpredictable.
Well, I would say that you guys are equally as unpredictable with the draft as well. I think like that itself is also one of the strengths where you guys have so many things that you guys can bring to the table. But in terms of, you know, the environment right now as a team, like you guys have gone through so many tournaments, like have you guys came into the ACL with a very different mindset as compared to, you know, back in the WCS or so?
What do you mean by that?
In the sense, like, is there a form of thing that you guys have changed in terms of mindset, in terms of the from different tournaments that you guys have brought up until now? Yeah.
I'm not sure about that.
Hang on, I think I've got another question that I might be able to do with this. So, Dev, just a question about Renaissance as a team. How would you compare the old Renaissance to the new Renaissance? Like, how do you feel like the team has improved?
Oh, I think we get along with each other a lot, and we play a lot. We discuss a lot as a team, and we like to try a lot of different things. Yeah, that's it.
All right, thank you so much for the interview, Dev. It was amazing to hear your thoughts on the team as well as the picks for today. Good luck on your match against MYS. You guys are different, I promise. Good luck in your matchup in the final week. But yeah, that's going to be it for us. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Dev. Good luck.
Have a good night.
Oh, goodness. I'm really hyped up for this upcoming matchup. I think, if anything, it's going to be the Battle of the Titans, Battle of the Goliaths. There's no David in this matchup. Both teams have proven track records now.
I agree. I mean, like, it's also the best way to end the first stage, to also see who definitely deserves that first ticket into the grand finals of the ACL.
Yeah, and I think another thing to note as well, so for anyone that came into the broadcast and you're kind of wondering, like, why are we still playing with some of the old Pokemon? We are still, in this broadcast, playing on the old patch. So the next week, we are going to be playing on the new patch for Southeast Asia. So that's going to be an extra layer for the teams to get used to figure out what's going to be the next best thing. Are certain Pokemon still viable?
That's right. And with that being said, I believe that they will have to go back into the drawing board to really figure out what works best in the brand new patch. So, of course, with that being said, let's also keep you guys up to speed again on what you guys can get for yourself. And if you guys have been tuning in, you don't want to miss out on securing all these loot for yourself, where we have all these Pokemon TCG cards for you to win, the stacks, as well as the Pokemon folders that you can get your hands on once you complete your registration on Stream Elements while you're watching the stream through Twitch.
And to maximize the number of points you get, make sure you tune into every broadcast. I mean, East Asia, Southeast Asia, and India. All 3 regions are going to help you get those points so that you can redeem your rewards. Now, we're going to have some of these prizes on the desk here so you can physically see what you could be getting. We have the very obvious one. We have the tins. Now, these tins come in very specific tins. Hang on. So here are the tins. Now, they come in 3 variations. At the top, we have the fighting type cards. We've got the darkness cards in the center here, and we have the fire type cards. Inside each tin, there is going to be 3 booster packs for that typing and a coin. So if you want one of these are going to be one of the big prizes. Contra, I do believe you've got the folders.
I've already flexed it on screen for quite some time, and I definitely know that all you guys who are at work or so, like, this could be
At school.
a great conversation starter for those of your friends, like, hey, they love Pokemon too, and you guys could basically share the love and joy. And on my hands, more booster packs, and this actually comes with 3 foil Pokemon TCG cards that features Galarian Articuno, Zapdos, as well as Moltres, and not forgetting the Surfetch coin that looks absolutely amazing.
He looks so cute. I love his little angry face. You know, he's got little angry eyebrows. So good luck to everybody that registers for our amazing giveaway. It's eligible for everyone in Southeast Asia, so make sure you register right now because you want to start collecting those points. You are competing with existing viewers. We also want to remind all of you, if you haven't already, do bookmark our micro site. This is your Bible to the Pokemon UNITE Asia Champions League. It's got dates, it's got teams, it's got schedules, and everything you need to know about the tournament. Make sure it's saved, make sure it's bookmarked. If you have any questions about the tournament, this is the place to go.
That's right, and of course, that is going to be a wrap from both of us. We're definitely looking forward to the final week of the first stage of the Pokemon UNITE Asia Champions League for Southeast Asia and also for some other regions as well.
Exactly. Now, don't forget, we still have some interesting matchups coming up soon. I think India's actually finished, unfortunately. So, that means we've got 1 more week of East Asia and 1 more week of Southeast Asia. So make sure to come back next week for the finale for these 2 regions. But that's going to be it for us. My name is Danielle. His name is Contra. Make sure you register for the giveaway, and we'll see you all next week.